torn apart, and perhaps it will never be the same again. Don't go anywhere. It's an exclusive set of data I've got for you today. GBNews.com/your say is a way to get in touch. Or you can scan the QR code on your screens now. But now it's your headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories. The King says he and the Queen are heartbroken by the devastating floods in Nepal. 2 British children, a 13-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy, are among the 33 people missing from the UK. In a written message, King Charles said many people in the UK have deep and personal ties to the region and sent his sympathy to families who've lost loved ones. Police say over 350 bodies have been recovered, with more than 1,000 people still missing. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says the devastating picture emerging from Nepal shows scenes never seen before.
The immediate offer that the Foreign Secretary has relayed to the Nepalese government is an offer of first responders, search and rescue support. Britain excels in this, and we're there and we're ready to be deployed. Obviously, it's a matter for the Nepalese government, but that is available. Financial support has been put on the table as well. Of course, British nationals missing as well, and we need to support that search and rescue effort. We're also redeploying Foreign and Commonwealth Office staff from the wider region into Kathmandu, so that there is a 24/7 consular support for British nationals in the country.
In other news, the number of asylum seekers being housed in UK hotels has fallen by half in a year. Home Office figures show just over 16,000 people were in temporary hotel accommodation at the end of June. That's down from more than 32,000 a year earlier. But the figures also show 38,000 people were detected arriving through illegal routes in the year to June. Small boats accounted for 33,000 of those. More than 8 million UK airport passenger details have been stolen in a major cyber attack. Manchester Airports Group, which runs Manchester, Stansted and East Midlands airports, was made aware of the breach on Tuesday. The attack is believed to have happened a few days earlier. The stolen data includes email addresses, phone numbers, vehicle registrations and postcodes from customers who used parking, lounge, fast track and Wi-Fi services. The airport group says bank details were not taken and passenger safety and aviation security were not compromised. Police are investigating fears of possible organised crime-linked violence in Middlesbrough after another home was rammed by a car. Officers say the property was empty at the time and no injuries have been reported. The incident happened just minutes from the scenes of 2 fatal incidents already under investigation. It follows the deaths of 7-year-old Valentina Foster and her aunt Natalie MacDonald in a house fire being treated as murder. That fire happened close to the location of Saturday's fatal crash on the A66, which killed 2 police officers and 5 young people. And 2 of PC Andrew Harper's killers will be blocked from early release and kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole were due to be released next year under the current rules. They were sentenced over the death of PC Harper, who was dragged behind a car while responding to a burglary. But reports say ministers will now change the law so some manslaughter offenders are no longer eligible. The move follows widespread anger from Andrew Harper's family and the policing community. Those are your latest headlines. More in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Tatiana. Now we begin this hour and today's show with sobering figures from the Home Office today that reveal a record number of asylum seekers are now living in dispersed accommodation. In other words, in HMOs on a street near you. Now, the figures show that while the number of illegal immigrants in hotels has dropped to 16,000, the number in the likes of houses of multiple occupation is now more than 73,000. That's a total of 93,000 in total. Now, this comes as GB News can now confirm that hundreds more illegal immigrants are presently crossing the English Channel as we speak. They didn't get the message from the government that they should not keep coming here. They're on their way. 219 have already made it to Dover Harbour, and more boats, including one of those mega dinghies, are still attempting the crossing today, despite horrendous weather conditions. Does this sound like a country in control of its borders. Let's now speak with the former Director General of UK Border Force, great friend of the show, Tony Smith. Tony, here we go again. It's Groundhog Day. The government gives out their press releases and they're saying, don't worry, lads, we're taking back control. We're deporting a few people here and there. But what really matters to people, Tony, I think, now, are these dinghies that can't be stopped. The people on board them can't be deported to their nations because they come from countries with which we have no returns. And the government thinks the solution is to close hotels, but everybody knows watching and listening to this channel, that means just shoving them around the country into cheap accommodation, bought by Serco, paid for by the taxpayer, not monitored, coming to a street near you. And it's getting worse, Tony.
Yeah, hi Martin. It is that time again, and we you know, people like you and I pore over these statistics. I mean, on the face of it, the Home Office would be quite pleased. You know, I can't dispute anything the Home Secretary has said in her release. You know, the asylum backlog is down, hotels falling, arrests up, boat numbers down, and returns are up. I mean, all of that's true, Martin. But I think we do need, as you say. You know, I also go through the data tables like you guys do to see, and if our top priority is stop the boats, that's what you and I talk about most of the time. There's a couple of things that stick out for me. Firstly, there's something in there that there's 224,000 people still in the asylum system, at least that was last year. So it's an awful lot of people that's still in the asylum system. And the figures that you're showing there are the ones that I've been looking at as well. That of the 33,000 boat arrivals this year, the top 5 countries, only a very, very small number have been removed. On your figure there, you know, you've only got 23 enforced returns. So the problem is that, you know, 25,000 of the 31,000 or so boat arrivals in the last year come from these sorts of countries, Martin, where they're not being returned. Now that, you know, translate that into simple terms, the message will go back to people from Eritrea, Sudan, Afghanistan, Somalia, Iran. Well, you might as well come, because if you get here, you're not going to be removed. And that, I think, is the greatest problem we have, is we're not actually removing the harder to remove nationalities that are coming by boat. And that's just increasing the pull factor. And that's why they're going to carry on coming.
Tony, we need to pore over these figures because something I think very, very alarming and disturbing is taking shape before our eyes. And it's this. We are effectively now producing a shopping list to people smugglers. They can say to people from Sudan, 4,191 illegal arrivals via dinghy last year, 0 returns, 0. Afghanistan, 4,042, 1 return. Eritrea, the top of the league of shame there, 5,875 arrivals, 2 returns, around 3. Somalia, 17. It's pitiful. That's barely enough, lads, to get an 11-side football team together for a match, Tony. And this is 21,666 coming in from these dangerous nations, the kind of nations we know there's a huge cultural chasm between Afghanistan, Somalia, Iran in terms of women's rights, in terms of violence against women. And is it any wonder they're being handed leaflets on how not to rape women, on how not to be paedophiles? And the facts before our eyes today, Tony Smith, are this. We can't deport them, even if we want to.
Yeah, and I've said to you many times, Martin, the only real deterrent to boat arrivals is detention and removal. And we're not doing the removal bit. And if we can't do the removal bit, we can't do the detention bit either, because it's unlawful to detain someone that's not removable. So that's where we're stuck. We're stuck in this situation, as you say, where we're publishing the nationalities of people that, you know, the message going back, which is public information, is that if you come from one of those countries, then look, this is the history. If you can get in a boat and get in British territorial waters and claim asylum, then you're not going, the very chance of being removed are very, very slight. That's why Marty and I supported the Rwanda plan, because a number of these nationalities could have been sent to Rwanda. They were prepared to accept people from these countries. We've had a hell of a difficulty trying to get agreements with some of these countries to take people back. We need to redouble our efforts on all of those. I'd like to see a dedicated task force, not just in the Home Office, Martin, but in the Foreign Office, to get after these countries, to say, well, this is, you know, under international law, you have an obligation to take your own people back. You can't just use them as political pawns. So we want a real concerted effort on the source countries, and I would still be looking, Martin, myself, myself in the shorter term at another Rwanda or somewhere where we could send these people. Because I said at the top of this, there are an awful lot of people in this country already that have been through the asylum system, they've even been through the appeals system, Martin, and they're still here, and a lot of them are still on benefits, and they're the ones that we need to remove. A, to get confidence that we are actually getting a grip, and B, to send a message back to source countries that it's not worth trying to get in a boat to come here.
But if you're from Eritrea or Sudan or Afghanistan, you know there's no chance of being deported. I mean, the figures speak for themselves. The people smugglers will know this. They'll know how impotent we are to do anything about it. Now, the human rights of people coming here on dinghies seem to supersede the human rights of British citizens. And if you complain about it, you're called a racist. And if you live in an area where there happens to be a rundown community, a lack of social cohesion, cheap property prices, that's the working classes ostensibly of Britain, the working classes, I may add, who time and time again have voted to take back control of our borders. That's where they're getting shoved. You know, it's OK for Andy Burnham to go, oh, everybody's got to take their fair share. They won't be living on a street next to Andy Burnham. They won't be living on a street next to the Green Party leader, Zach Polanski. They'll be shoved into working class communities. They have no say, no voice, no veto. And this says to me, this is an unstoppable tide.
Yeah, and a lot of them are already here, Martin. As I said to you, there's over 200,000, it says in these statistics, that are in the asylum system. Yet the Home Office backlog's only 40,000. So what about the other 160,000? They've probably been through the asylum process. They might be in the appeals system. They're probably appeals rights exhausted. And these people are the people we're talking about. They're still getting benefit during that period, but they're not being deported. So let alone cutting the intake, as you say, and sending messages back that it's not going to work. You've already got a very significant population of failed asylum seekers in country now that we don't have a solution for. And that's what worries me. We've really got to get a grip, and we've really got to target these high source countries. I've done it before. We did it under previous governments where we had BAS removal failed asylum seeker targets, Martin, and control over that, and a lot of leverage to say, right, we're going to focus specifically on this country, and we're going to get after them. We're going to detain them. We're going to pull all the levers on stopping visas. All those kind of things need to be pulled out of the bag now, because you're right. At the moment, as things stand, it's clear to anybody that if you come from one of those countries and you make it up to the 12-mile line, then you're going to be joining a growing population of people here that shouldn't be here, but ultimately will not be removable. So there is a real big challenge beneath the surface of these figures. And to be fair to them, Martin, and let's be fair, a lot of them are quite good figures on the face of it. But you're right, we do need to dig beneath them, because if people's real priority is to stop the boats and stop people coming from harmful, high-harm countries who, you know, we don't know who they are, but perpetrating, then that to me should be a top priority. So I would like to see more work done on a removals force, particularly targeting these higher level countries, A, to get rid of some of the ones that shouldn't be here already, but B, to send a message to those that are on the boats on their way across now that it's not going to work.
OK, Tony Smith, you know, I always say if we have people like you in charge, we'll have half a chance. And here we go again. Look, the dinghies are rolling in. They're simply not getting the memo in the middle of the channel. They're not getting the memo on the beaches of Calais. The mega dinghies are incoming once again. Thank you very much indeed, Tony Smith. Well, the boats, as I say, do keep on coming, as GB News can reveal now that hundreds of illegal immigrants are presently crossing from France today, despite terrible weather conditions in the English Channel. Here we go again. It's Groundhog Day on the beaches of Britain. Let's now speak with the immigration lawyer, Shab Khan. Shab, pleasure to have your company. Can I specifically put the point to you I was mentioning with Tony Smith there about today's data showing we are utterly powerless to deport people from Eritrea, from Sudan, from Afghanistan, from Somalia, from around the top 5 dinghy arrivals nations. We simply can't do anything about it because we don't have returns deals with these countries. They're deemed unsafe. As a consequence, anybody who comes to our country illegally becomes our burden probably forever. That's where we're at.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about legally, then yes, I mean, these are unsafe countries and we shouldn't be definitely not unilaterally or forcibly removing people there. If we're talking about people who might have serious criminal records, other very serious cases, then I think it is a matter for us. And again, I mean, I think I've said this repeatedly in the media recently. I think we seem to have I think we really grossly overestimate our influence or power in the world. And so, if we can't even, conclude or agree a treaty, a returns treaty with Eritrea or Sudan or something, I think just overall that's something we need to be thinking about. Why is that? And, what can we do to actually increase our influence and soft power in the world? But secondly, obviously, other than, like you're saying, obviously it's really bad weather and still these people are coming. But if that is literally our only hope, that, we just hope and pray that the weather stays so terrible that no one crosses, then I'm not surprised the numbers are going to keep going up. Obviously, this is the first crossing since the few hundreds that came, whatever it was, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago now. But since then, what have we done? In the past 6 months, what have we done? Obviously, the figures are showing that there has been some improvement, again, due to the negotiations we have with France. And France is obviously, finally, after the billions we must have paid them over the years, are finally taking some action. But the point is, unless we get to the root or the causes, and try to understand why these people are coming, what and what we can do to stop that, I don't think they're going to stop.
Do you think we should be negotiating with the Taliban? Ursula von der Leyen from the European Union is, they are in Germany, they are in Austria. Nobody wants to do deals with terrorists to legitimise their murderous regimes, their Islamic, psychopaths. But if we could do some sort of deal with them to return their worst citizens. We've got 1,500 foreign criminals whose asylum claims have also failed, the worst of the worst. We simply can't get rid of. Surely it's time to do a deal, no matter who with.
Well, it depends. You used all the words I would use for that regime. So it depends how desperate you are. And again, it just shows how helpless we really are in the face of this. That if that were, personally, I wouldn't. I don't think that's a great thing. You just completely sell out, let go of all your principles. I don't know what the last 20, 30, 40 years have all been about then, how many of our troops have died on the other side, and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if in the end we're going to say, fine, you're in power now, and, just tell us where you want us to sign and we'll do whatever you want. So, personally, I don't think we should be negotiating with that regime. But, it just depends how desperate we are. And, obviously that's at the end of the day, governments make political and, public policy decisions. But I don't think we should be doing that. Like I said, I think that's just selling yourself out and, because you just want to send a few people back that you don't want. If we were actually going to be negotiating with and agreeing with the regime like the Taliban, I'm not sure that's really the right thing to do.
OK, Shab Khan, I think you're right. Perhaps viewers and listeners might think it's quite rare. I agree with you on this channel, but I think you're right. We're impotent. We can't even do a deal with despots. We can't even do a deal with countries that are basically barbaric third world hellholes. Let's be frank. There are no women's rights in Afghanistan. Absolutely none. And we just can't. We're powerless to do anything about it. Shab Khan, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the show today. Now, in a statement, the Home Office spokesman has told GBNews this. We are closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites. This is an important step in ending the perception you can arrive illegally and be put in a hotel. The population of asylum seekers in hotels has fallen by 35% in the last year and by 63% from the peak under the previous government. Overall, asylum costs have already fallen by nearly £1 billion since this government was elected. Well, today, local residents and speakers are convening at RAF Barnham to protest plans to move in 1,250 asylum seekers to a local base. Adult males aged between 18 and 65 who have applied for asylum will be housed there, and the locals are not remotely happy. Well, joining us now is GB News' national reporter Jack Carson from the RAF site there in Suffolk. Jack, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. Another community being torn apart by asylum seekers being foisted upon them with no voice, no veto and no say.
Yeah, I don't think you can underestimate really the strength of feeling in this area, RAF Barnham being one of those sites that have been chosen. Just reading out, Martin, that Home Office statement you read, they're saying that using sites like this will allow them to take away some of the incentive for those crossing the channel. Ultimately as well, they say it helps save costs to the taxpayer, but it's the communities where they're being put and planned to be put that feel like they have not been consulted. Well, they've told us directly today they haven't been consulted. I mean, you can look at some of the signs here. We've got one saying democracy is dead, women and kids, one saying women too, so that's a real of strength from this community, but let's get a sense of it from a local councillor, Councillor Scott Hussey on Norfolk County Council. Thanks for joining us. I mean, another protest here today. They've been going on for weeks now here in this area. We, of course, were talking to you a couple of weeks ago when there had been some disorder in Thetford. So how do you reflect on the community feeling around the plans for this site?
Well, hello, Jack. Of course, we met, I think, less than 2 weeks ago over the protests over the immigrants being housed in HMOs in Thetford. We're here at the gates of the base. Of course, Thetford, the town, is just a mile that way. Over this way we have Bury St Edmunds, and there's a village of just 600 people in Barnham itself. We've got proposals here for a base of more than 1,000 immigrants who will be young men. There'll be no women, no children. These will be young men who would have arrived on boats. I'm not saying small boats because they're not small anymore. They would have arrived on boats and they will be here while their claims for asylum are being processed. So I think the strength of feeling in the town, well, the town is totally united against this. I think the only people who've not been here have probably been against this, maybe the MP for Bury St Edmunds and Stowmarket and the Labour MP for South West Norfolk. They've not been here. They've not shown any support for the people of the town. In fact, they've attacked the people of the town who've been protesting very peacefully here and at the HMOs as well. So there's been basically two issues. There's this camp and there's the HMOs, and that's why tensions have been so high here. The Home Office just isn't listening.
The local MP, Terry Jeremy, will say that he has had his own concerns that he's put to the government about this site. Ultimately, the Home Office saying that they're trying to use sites like this as one way to decentivise those coming across the channel, that people won't be put in hotels, saying this is better taxpayer funding for money. Are they not right that sites like this have to be used because they're still dealing with people across the channel, and the Home Office said we've got to put them somewhere?
Absolutely right. But I think if this, you see the barbed wire here, I think if people were here and they were moved here and this was just totally secure and there was barbed wire and they were secure and they were not allowed out and their claims for asylum were processed quickly, and then with the expectation that most of them would be refused because they came here illegally and then they left the country, I think people would find that the most acceptable solution. That's not going to be the case. The young men here are going to be completely able to roam around. They'll probably bust into the town by the Home Office. And by my calculation, I think the maximum that they're allowed to stay here, their claims must be processed within 3 months. So the initial figure is just an initial figure for how many young men are going to be here. If this base is here for 10 years or even more, as the Home Office admitted it could be, we could have maybe 50,000 men plus coming through this base. And then what happens to them after? Well, presumably most of them get their claims accepted and then they get put into HMOs, into towns like Thetford, which is going to cause even more tensions.
Okay, Councillor Scott Hussey, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to give us a sense really of what the local community and what local councillors are feeling about this. As we were saying, we've spoken to many of those residents today telling us they just don't feel like they've been consulted, they don't feel like they're being listened to. But of course, as you've heard from the Home Office statement, Martin, you read out just a short few minutes ago, they are saying that numbers are down, that the cost of those asylum claims are down, and ultimately bases like this are part of the way that they close asylum hotels across the country.
OK, thank you very much, Jack Carlson from the RF site there down in Thetford, a community very much on the edge. Thank you, Jack. Now, still to come, 10 years ago, the Tories promised to take back control of our borders. Do you remember that? But today's immigration data proves the precise opposite. I'll show you an exclusive deep dive into how Britain has had its fabric torn apart by uncontrolled immigration. And also next, the government has admitted that Britain's benefit system is flawed and these people written off from work. Now, this comes as a record 1 million young people today are declared not in employment, education or training. Once again, is Labour not working? That's next here on GB News.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News. Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
Oh, thank you. And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's bang on 3:30 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, the Work and Pensions Secretary, Pat McFadden, is finally admitted Britain's benefit system is flawed, warning that universal credits can easily leave people signed off work indefinitely. You don't say. Now, more than 4 million people on universal credit currently have no requirements to even bother looking for work. And this comes as the latest ONS figures out today show the number of young people not in education, employment or training, that's the NEETs, has fallen below 1 million, but it's still 981,000 young people simply sitting idle. I'm delighted to be joined in studio in Westminster by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine, there's an old phrase, Labour isn't working, that dates way back to the days of Maggie Thatcher. But this is a rot that took hold under the Conservatives. It's getting worse. It's probably linked to our big story today of immigration, people being put out of work by AI and getting into record debt at universities. It's a blooming tough time to be a young person in Britain right now.
It really is, and successive governments have focused on people that vote, haven't they? Particularly, the older you get, the more likely you are to vote. We talk so much about the triple lock, and Westminster is full of people who think it's unaffordable, but nobody dares to say so. There's been very little focus on young people, and now we've got 1 in 8 young people between 16 and 24, not in education, not in employment, not in training. 6 in 10 of those have never had a job at all.
It's heartbreaking.
It is horrendous. Yes, there are influencers saying this is how to get benefits if you've got ADD. But look, lockdown had a terrible effect on young people. There are mental health issues with many, and many of them not getting the support they need. But fundamentally, there's a lot of gaps in jobs. If you're a graduate, you're coming out with tons of debt. AI is hoovering up those jobs. The opportunities are not there. The government have made it more expensive to hire young workers because, yes, they've put the national minimum wage up, but they've also put employers' national insurance up, and they've halved the threshold at which employers start paying that. So particularly for young people, it makes them more expensive to employ. It's really, really difficult. And the Work and Pension Secretary today is out there championing the new jobs guarantee scheme. The government are basically funding work for young people that have been unemployed for 18 months or more in the hope that they'll get the skills and then the employers will take them on permanently. They're giving incentives of £3,000 to take young workers who have been unemployed for a long time too. But there are very deep-seated, fundamental, systemic problems that are simply not going away. Pat McFadden is saying hope is on the way, help is on the way. Andy Burnham talking about technical education. But at the moment, youth apprentice starts are down 40% in 10 years. So you can go to uni, you can get a degree that may or may not get you a graduate job, probably not. But if you want to do an apprenticeship, they are difficult, very difficult to get.
And I feel duty-bound to point out, as ever, that at the bottom of the pile in terms of education are white working-class kids,
boys especially.
Particularly white working-class lads, sort of person I was years ago. It's a very, very difficult time. When will a government come to their rescue? It could start by controlling immigration. It really, really could. It's just a decimation of young people's opportunities at university, competing with the world's brightest and best from all around the planet, forcing them into debt, and then getting into a job market where there's nothing for them. I think it's a travesty. Catherine, thank you very much indeed. Now, still to come, 10 years ago, the Tories promised to take back control of our borders. But today's immigration data proves the precise opposite. Stick with me for an exclusive deep dive into how Britain has been betrayed by its political class. But first, it's time for your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. At the top stories, breaking news, a chemistry teacher, 65-year-old Sally Ann Bowen, has been found guilty at Harrow Crown Court of several counts of indecent assault against two teenage pupils in the late 1980s. The King says he and the Queen are heartbroken by the devastating floods in Nepal. Over 350 bodies have been recovered, with more than 1,000 people still missing, including 33 from the UK. And the number of asylum seekers being housed in UK hotels has fallen by half in a year to just over 16,000. But the figures also show 38,000 people were detected arriving through illegal routes in the year to June. Small boats accounted for around 88% of those. Those are the latest headlines, more at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update for the Met Office for GB News. We've certainly seen some lively weather out there today, flooding across parts of the Midlands, and heavy showers continue into the evening with the risk of further thunderstorms in places. There are two areas to watch. One, weather front moving north into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That will continue to bring some heavy rain and occasional thunderstorms. Further showers and thunderstorms developing to the south of that, especially this area that will emerge from France. Some uncertainty on the track of this, but if it skirts across the east of England, it could bring some very significant rain and the risk of flooding overnight. It does move out of the way into the North Sea. Further showers for many and a warm night to come, temperatures staying in the mid-teens widely. There will be some brightness first thing on Friday, especially for parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East. Further showers running into parts of southwest England, Wales as well, these merging into longer spells of rain. And you can extend this area of showers up into North Wales, northern England as well. A drier start for Northern Ireland, some sunshine. Likewise for western Scotland, beautiful weather here first thing, but we've got this showery rain clearing eastern Scotland. And then essentially for many of us, it's a day of bright spells, but also frequent showers. The heaviest and most frequent showers will be across western England, Wales, into parts of the northeast of Scotland as well, with this system wrapping back round into Shetland and Orkney as well as Caithness. Where the showers occur, they're going to be lively once again. Fewer thunderstorms, I think. It's going to be fresher as well, with temperatures into the low 20s, and mostly dry in the southeast until the end of the day. That's when these showers move south and eastwards. Western Scotland, Northern Ireland also staying mostly dry for much of the day. And then the weekend, well, a very mixed bag. We've got further spells of rain and thunderstorms around, but there will also be some brightness.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A303 is closed after the A36 at Wiley. The M62 westbound has an obstruction at junction 11 in Birchwood. In Scotland, the M73 northbound is partially blocked by a broken down vehicle at junction 2 in Baillieston. Across Wales, the M4 westbound from J24 Coldra to J26 Malpass is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway and London Overground are running reduced services, with temporary timetable changes and fewer Mildmay and Windrush line trains. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Your time is 3:39. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, 10 years ago, the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union, and the message, of course, was that we would take back control, especially of our porous borders. However, I've been looking through the data released by the Home Office today, and the results are simply shocking. Don't forget, this is the first 10-year window. 2016 was the Brexit vote. 2026 is where we are today. We've got a 10-year window on immigration, and look at this. It's simply mind-blowing. Since Brexit, 4.29 million have moved to the United Kingdom. Now, to put that in perspective, as you can see on your screens, that's the equivalent of the entire population of Wales, so that's an entire country, plus the entire population of Birmingham, our second city. So we've had an entire country and an entire second city dumped on us by a political class who promised to take back control. But who are these immigrants arriving to Britain? Because after Brexit, don't forget, European Union migration plummeted, as you can see on your screens, by 85%. But what happened next? Nobody saw coming, perhaps only Boris Johnson, because non-European Union migration skyrocketed by an incredible 165%. Now, if any of you at home are wondering why the UK feels so different post-Brexit, there's your answer. Because quite simply, we are importing people from much more culturally distant places and geographically distant places. The Polish, the Latvians of yore being replaced by Pakistanis, Indians, Somalians, Nigerians. And it could get worse before it gets better, because nearly 200,000 migrants were granted settlement this year, which gives them full access to the British welfare state and the health system. Do you feel like we took back control, or do you feel like you've been cheated? Well, GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, is with me in the studio. Catherine, everywhere I go in Britain, when I go to a working class town or a city or a pub, people say the same things to me all the time. This country's had it, they say. This country's changed, and I don't think we can do anything about it. Geezers with balaclavas whizzing past on Deliveroo's, the smell of dope everywhere, mess. And I'm not talking the country down. I'm laying the blame at the feet of our political class, all the way back to Tony Blair, all the way through to where we are now. None of them took back control.
No, and I think the people that voted for Brexit, 52% of the population, very few among them would have done that. Take back control of our borders. The promise was that we would get net migration down and we would cherry pick the brightest and the best from around the world, but the brightest and the best, the real high-skilled people to fill our skills
But that was an illusion.
Gap. And yet you look at these figures and you look at the fact we've got 1 million of our own young people without jobs, not in training. You look at the fact that we've got 4 million people with no requirement to look for work on benefits. And you do wonder who voted for this?
Nobody.
Because as far as I can see, nobody did vote for this. Yes, you can take it back to Tony Blair, and when the EU expanded eastwards, countries like Romania, other countries put transitional arrangements in. Tony Blair's attitude was, oh, we don't need to worry because not many people will come. But that is as nothing really to what has happened more recently. And I interviewed Boris Johnson for GB News. It was about a year ago. And I said to him off camera at the end of the interview about the Boris wave. And he said, well, the thing is, you know, we thought after Brexit that lots of people would leave. Lots of people would leave, so we'd need to let more people come in. And I think what's happened is lots of the EU citizens that were here pretty much all decided they'd get the right to stay. And because we didn't have a mass exodus, really, and they opened the doors to so many people coming from cultures, as you say, very different to our own, many of whom working in very low-wage jobs.
Look at that on your screens. This is genuine. This is ONS data. This is Home Office data. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This happened to the United Kingdom. It's happening to the United Kingdom. We've had a country the size of Wales and a city the size of Birmingham pumped into our country. In the past 10 years, nobody voted for this at all. Get the next graphic on, please, if we could, Jake. This shows us with absolute clarity where this immigration is coming from. The European Union immigration has plummeted now to a mere 76,000 per annum from 500,000 in 2016. Now 627,000 non-European Union, largely from the third world, India, Pakistan, Nigeria. It's gone through the roof. Do you ever wonder why your town, why this country feels completely and utterly different over these past 10 years? The answer is on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. The political class promised to take back control, and I put it to you, they betrayed the entire nation. They betrayed us all. A shame on them, a plague on all their houses. When you look at the irrefutable evidence of what they promised they would do and what they've delivered, do you feel cheated? Because I bloody well do. Catherine, when you look at this, the political class, I think, should hang their heads in shame.
We hear all this about the need for, you know, labour, but it was supposed to be high-skilled labour. We had all the talk when we were in the EU about depressing wages. We haven't got away from that, have we? And up until the 1980s, we were sort of neutral on immigration. And since we've had all this wave of large numbers of people coming in, our productivity hasn't increased at all. Our sort of total wealth hasn't really. We're not feeling better off. Our public services are not thriving. And where are the houses to accommodate all these people? We've got a massive housing crisis. Young people have got no hope of getting on the property ladder. Therefore, they can't start families, and so on and so forth.
Catherine Forster, all of this is manifestly and abundantly obvious to anybody with half a brain. It seems we're ruled by people without that. Thank you very much, Catherine, and more to come on that data. That's the real deal. This isn't made up. It's there. It's happening. This is our country. Coming up next, we'll be live in Blackpool as our very own Doogie Beattie's grand tour continues. Meanwhile, I've inserted some holiday sun. Here is a forecast of some of your top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The weather's a bit more mixed across parts of Europe as well as in the UK. Intense thunderstorms across some central areas of Europe. Wetter weather affecting the west as well into parts of Portugal and Spain. That's thanks to low pressure being close by. Temperatures close to average here, but it's for southern areas of Italy towards the Mediterranean where the heat wave is ongoing. Temperatures in the high 30s, low 40s across parts of the Mediterranean. It will tend to cool off a little bit as we head towards the weekend, but remains dry and sunny. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Becky, Chad and the beekeepers, Richard, Mohammed and James. Well, thank you all for coming. So tell us what happened.
So I got a phone call about 7:30 on Sunday evening from one of the rangers to tell us that there was a forest fire that was spreading quite rapidly and the bees were in danger, and if we could get down as soon as we could to get them out.
And I suppose this is a real challenge, because bees, whilst they do flit around all over the place, they're pretty stuck to their colonies.
Yes, absolutely. The boys were the ones that were there.
When we approached it, the fire was quite close to the colonies, so we had to make a decision very quickly on whether or not to remove them from the apiary or keep them there and try and just water down the area. And after we saw flames on the horizon, we decided that, no, we've just got to make the decision to move the bees to a safer place, which we did.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I do think it's worrying that young people, I mean, are they I think they are more risk averse. Yes. I think they are scared of getting into personal space. I think you're right, there are issues about consent and everything else. But how sad that people say that it's been a year since they've been kissed. What is life for if you're not having a little kiss every now and again?
Yeah, the death of the kiss.
Apparently, much younger people now haven't had a good snog in over 12 months on average, the people that have been interviewed. But I would hazard a guess that that's because people are frightened. Men don't know when they can approach women anymore. Men can think 1 or 2 steps ahead on the same board, whereas a woman will think about 18 steps. So
I think you're overthinking it.
If a man takes you to Paris for the weekend, a woman will come back disappointed that they haven't proposed them. Whereas a man thinks they've done a really great thing.
Why do men always think you're going to be proposed to in Paris? That you expect that. We don't expect that. Just take us to Paris.
The People's Channel.
We're flying home at 11 o'clock tonight.
Oh, and mummy and daughter.
Yeah, and it only costs £70, so we thought, well, why not? Because it's cheaper than a supermarket shop.
Supermarket shop or spending the day in Benidorm with cheap booze.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer.
And is there no chance you might just decide we're going to stay?
No, because my husband would kill me.
We did consider it because I said to my mum earlier on, we might just stay and miss the flight, but she's not up for it. Has your husband actually visited Benidorm Zone?
No, he hasn't. I've been here 27 times. That's my daughter's first time. She's a Benidorm virgin. But
well,
my husband's never been.
Not that he's told you anyway, let's put it like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. Time is 10 to 4. You've been Martin Daubney here on GB News. Now, in the last week of the summer holidays, it's the last week of the summer holidays, and GB News' Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie is getting to tour Britain in the run-up to the bank holiday weekend. Here's Doogie on tour. Doogie Beattie, you're back from Benidorm. By God, you didn't bring the weather with you, mate. What's going on there?
Well, I decided to be on my own this time because any time I'm with you, I end up in all sorts of trouble. No, seriously, the rain came on here probably about 3 hours ago and the place has emptied, Martin. I mean, look at this here along the beach. What a difference the weather makes. Blackpool, everybody has decided to stay indoors. You can't even see the tower behind us. The rides aren't going up and down. I mean, if you look there, oh, there's one now. It's eventually gone. This is the South Pier just behind me. But, I mean, everybody has basically gone back to their caravans or apartments or whatever because it is rained off totally here in Blackpool. And, of course, that's why we were going round Britain. We were in Portrush yesterday. Great season they've had. Blackpool, of course, we've talked to many people today. They, too, have had a great time here, holiday makers. Most of them actually coming back from Spain and taking this week to have a quick little holiday before the schools come back. The Scottish schools, of course, are already back. Northern Irish schools go back on Monday or Tuesday next week. And people just tried to grab a short weekend away. And, of course, the weather changed yesterday. But most of these staycation places that we've been at so far, we are somewhere else tomorrow. I'll not tell you where. You'll see it at that time. But they are saying this year they have had a bumper year because people are basically choosing to stay at home. Now, why I hit Blackpool in particular was because this is known for hen parties, you know, stag parties, birthdays, etc. But Blackpool has really lifted itself up. There's no doubt about that. The promenade and all here is very, very clean, very tidy. You get the usual shops that you get in any seaside town along the front. They are complaining about, because they're seasonal, the amount of tax they have to pay, the amount of national insurance they have to pay and everything else. And it is really hurting them because their season goes over in November, and as well as that, employing part-time workers seems to be a problem for them as well, especially teenagers, etc., because of all that extra insurance. So it's nice to have come around these places, talk to the holidaymakers, talk to the businesses, talk to people that have a real interest inside it. And this week's graphic for me is people keep on saying, "How is that your motorhome?" I'll just point it that way. Do you see? That's it there. That's it, Martin. That looks nothing like the graphic. That is it. Mini Winnie, there it is, sitting there in all its glory. But yeah, it's by no means a race car, I can assure you that. But a great day in Blackpool. We're heading on. We have to travel about another 4 hours now, and we'll be at our next destination. No stag parties, no hen parties, not when I'm on with you, Martin.
Yeah, I know you, Doogie B. You're always trying to get hold of a hen. Do you want to get one of those signs, mate? Don't come knocking when the Doogie Mobile's rocking. I know the way you are, my old son. You take care, Doogie Beatty. Always a pleasure there. We'll catch up with you tomorrow here on GB News. Thank you, Doogie Beatty. I'm determined to, I don't want to get that guy divorced. Thank you very much indeed now, Doogie Beatty. Now, coming up next on a serious topic. We'll be continuing our coverage of those jaw-dropping immigration figures released earlier on today, showing we cannot deport people from the world's most dangerous nations, and we've imported a country the size of Wales and the Birmingham since Brexit. That's next here on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update for the Met Office for GB News. We've certainly seen some lively weather out there today, flooding across parts of the Midlands, and heavy showers continue into the evening with the risk of further thunderstorms in places. There are two areas to watch. One, weather front moving north into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That will continue to bring some heavy rain and occasional thunderstorms. Further showers and thunderstorms developing to the south of that, especially this area that will emerge from France. Some uncertainty on the track of this, but if it skirts across the east of England, it could bring some very significant rain and the risk of flooding overnight. It does move out of the way into the North Sea. Further showers for many and a warm night to come, temperatures staying in the mid-teens widely. There will be some brightness first thing on Friday, especially for parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East. Further showers running into parts of southwest England, Wales as well, these merging into longer spells of rain. And you can extend this area of showers up into North Wales, northern England as well. A drier start for Northern Ireland, some sunshine. Likewise for western Scotland, beautiful weather here first thing, but we've got this showery rain clearing eastern Scotland. And then essentially for many of us, it's a day of bright spells, but also frequent showers. The heaviest and most frequent showers will be across western England, Wales, into parts of the northeast of Scotland as well, with this system wrapping back round into Shetland and Orkney as well as Caithness. Where the showers occur, they're going to be lively once again. Fewer thunderstorms, I think. It's going to be fresher as well, with temperatures into the low 20s, and mostly dry in the southeast until the end of the day. That's when these showers move south and eastwards. Western Scotland, Northern Ireland also staying mostly dry for much of the day. And then the weekend, well, a very mixed bag. We've got further spells of rain and thunderstorms around, but there will also be some brightness.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A303 is closed after the A36 at Wiley. The M56 is closed between junctions 2 and 3 at Sharston. In Scotland, the M73 northbound is partially blocked by a broken down vehicle at junction 2 in Baillieston. Across Wales, the A4232 northbound from A48 interchange to M4 J33 Capel Lanilton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway services are running a temporary reduced timetable, and Grand Central services are disrupted between Peterborough and London King's Cross. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised!
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you loyally and faithfully as ever until 6. A cracking show awaits. And here's what's on today's menu. Top story today, of course. Bombshell immigration data published today has revealed a record 73,000 asylum seekers are now living in HMOs across Britain at taxpayers' expense. Andy Burnham claimed HMO Britain isn't fair, yet now they're on the up. Could your street be the next asylum street? And the government today trumpeted they deported 9,700 foreigners this year, an annual increase of 7%. But today, GB News can reveal that just 23 were sent back to the top 5 nationalities that arrive on our shores via dinghy. They're the ones they're teaching how not to rape. As this show, we've got de facto open borders with some of the world's most dangerous nations. And 10 years ago, the Tories promised to take back control of our borders. But today's immigration data, 10 years on from Brexit, proves the opposite has happened. Today, GB News can reveal that since Brexit, Britain has been deluged by a tidal wave of immigrants that's bigger than the size of Wales and Birmingham put together. That's right, an entire country and our entire second city combined. That's your Brexit bonus. And a group of veterans and patriotic locals have been told to take down their commemorative poppies from lampposts in their area after anonymous complaints to their fundraising platform. The Rushmore Raise the Poppies team have had 600 quid's worth of public donations frozen and returned. I'll be joined by a furious local who just wants answers. And that's all coming up in your next hour. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company as ever. It's our job on GB News to go through the immigration data, to cut through the press release, to cut through the government spin and deliver you the truth. There have been some victories for the government today, but we must look at the dinghies coming to our shores. There's already a mega dinghy in the channel as we speak. Choppy seas today means that the French gendarmes think, nobody's going to bother crossing, but the lads are out in force on the beaches of Dunkirk, and they're on the way over to Hotel Britannia, but they're not going in hotels anymore, of course. HMOs in a town street near you. 93,000 in dispersed accommodation now, 73,000 in asylum hotels, and just 23 of the world's most dangerous countries we've been able to deport because we have no returns agreement. So long as that is a recipe, then I think it's a red carpet to uncontrolled immigration from some of the world's most dangerous nations. Plus, 10 years on from Brexit, did we take back control of our borders? I'll bring you the astonishing truth. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. But now it's time for your headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you. The top stories. The King says he and the Queen are heartbroken by the devastating floods in Nepal. 2 British children, a 13-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy, are among the 33 people from the UK that are missing. In a written message, King Charles said many people in the UK have deep and personal ties to the region and sent his sympathy to families who've lost loved ones. The Prince and Princess of Wales have expressed their shock at the flash floods, saying, "We are thinking of everyone caught up in this terrible disaster." Police say over 350 bodies have been recovered, with more than 1,000 people still missing. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says the devastating picture emerging from Nepal shows scenes never seen before.
The immediate offer that the Foreign Secretary has relayed to the Nepalese government is an offer of first responders, search and rescue support. Britain excels in this, and we're there and we're ready to be deployed. Obviously it's a matter for the Nepalese government, but that is available. Financial support has been put on the table as well. Of course, British nationals missing as well, and we need to support that search and rescue effort. We're also redeploying Foreign and Commonwealth Office staff from the wider region into Kathmandu, so that there is a 24/7 consular support for British nationals in the country.
In other news, the number of asylum seekers being housed in UK hotels has fallen by half in a year. Home Office figures show just over 16,000 people were in temporary hotel accommodation at the end of June. That's down from more than 32,000 a year earlier. But the figures also show 38,000 people were detected arriving through illegal routes in the year to June. Small boats accounted for 33,000 of those. A chemistry teacher has been convicted of having sexual relationships with 2 pupils at an all-boys school in the late 1980s. Sally Ann Bowen, who's taught at the Christ College in Finchley, North London, indecently assaulted the teenage boys when they were aged around 14 to 15, and she was in her mid-20s. Today, a jury at Harrow Crown Court returned majority verdicts, finding the 65-year-old guilty of 7 counts of indecent assault after 6 hours and 29 minutes of deliberation. More than 8 million UK airport passenger details have been stolen in a major cyber attack. Manchester Airports Group, which runs Manchester, Stansted and East Midlands airports, were made aware of the breach on Tuesday. The attack is believed to have happened a few days earlier. The stolen data includes email addresses, phone numbers, vehicle registrations and postcodes from customers who used parking, lounge and Wi-Fi services. The airport group says bank details were not taken. And police are investigating fears of possible organised crime-linked violence in Middlesbrough after another home was rammed by a car. Officers say the property was empty at the time and no injuries have been reported. The incident happened just minutes from the scenes of 2 fatal incidents already under investigation. It follows the deaths of 7-year-old Valentina Foster and her aunt Natalie MacDonald in a house fire being treated as murder. That fire happened close to the location of Saturday's fatal crash on the A66, which killed 2 police officers and 5 young people. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Tatiana. We begin this hour, of course, with sobering figures published today from the Home Office, and they reveal a record number of asylum seekers are now living in dispersed accommodation. In other words, on a street or in an army barracks or a hotel near you. Now, the figures show that while the number of illegal immigrants in hotels has now dropped to 16,000, the number in the likes of houses of multiple occupation, HMOs, is now more than 73,000. Now, this comes as GB News can confirm that as we speak, hundreds more illegal immigrants are currently crossing the English Channel. 219 have already made it to Dover Harbour today. More boats, including one of those mega dinghies, are still attempting that crossing despite horrendous weather conditions. The tide keeps on coming in and the political pressure still is piling up on our new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, who returns to work, of course, next Tuesday. I'm delighted to be joined in Westminster in the studio by the senior political correspondent at The Times, Aubrey Alagrassi. Aubrey, a pleasure, as always, to have your company.
Pleasure to be here.
Some of the figures today are some good news for the Labour Party, 9,700 removals. That's the increase. But when you dig into some of the data of who we can't get rid of, let's get that on the screen now, if we can. I've looked at the top 5 nations arriving by dinghy, the likes of Eritrea, the likes of Sudan, the likes of Afghanistan, Somalia and Iran. Between those entire 5 nations, 21,666 came in, as you can see on the monitor here. We've managed to deport a pitiful 23. And that's because we don't have returns deals with these countries. And Aubrey, our viewers and listeners were gravely concerned last week when the Home Office put that leaflet out about how not to rape women and children in this country. It's clearly aimed at people with a cultural difference from our own. You could say the precise people we can't deport. Now, Andy Burnham has a high wire act to walk here, perhaps the most unrelenting tightrope act of any Prime Minister in modern times. How does he keep the Red Wall happy and promise to sort this mess out, while at the same time keep the inner cities, keep the Labour strongholds happy without hemorrhaging votes to the Greens? It's a nightmare for him.
It's a really difficult political dilemma. I mean, I think, first of all, the fact that he kept on Shabana Mahmood in her post as Home Secretary says quite a lot about the progress that he thinks she was already making. And so some of the numbers that we're seeing today are the result of the successes of the government in at least driving some of the numbers down. So dinghy crossings down by around 40% year on year up until recently. I think that number dipped more recently. They were also chasing this big target about trying to reduce the number of asylum seekers being housed in hotels and closing hotels themselves. A sort of big kind of triumphant series of interventions from ministers to point to how those hotels had closed over the last few months, but not really responding to the central question of what would happen to those people once they've been moved out of hotels. And of course the answer is into HMOs. I think the numbers increased to about 69,000, an increase of 3,000. So you are effectively sort of moving the problem, not fixing it entirely. And then of course they've got the good news they can point to with reducing the asylum backlog itself and the number of the people in the system. But Shabana Mahmood knows that come September, the pressure on her is going to be incredibly immense, and that there are going to be basically 3 big things facing senior government ministers. Her announcement about changing migration rules for legal migrants and how long they have to stay in the UK in order to qualify for benefits and the chance to apply for British citizenship, the early release scheme for prisons, and probably also the big energy announcement about approving new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea. Of all of those things, I think that the migration issue has the potential to have the longest tail into the rest of winter, because Labour MPs have given Andy Burnham a chance over the last few weeks. They've given him breathing space, but they will be looking to pick fights if they think that he is sacrificing his soft left values and positions, which they argue is already being evidenced in other areas. And migration is an issue where they could really threaten to cause a big rebellion for the government.
If you're a Labour Party MP right now in the Red Wall, and an HMO is dumped on your constituency, because they won't know about it. The Home Office decides, they've tucked it all up with Serco, and your constituents start complaining loudly and repeatedly. You're going to be knocking on the door of the new Prime Minister. Andy Burnham, please, you've got to sort this out. Not in my backyard. But Andy Burnham's already said, well, everybody has to pay the price. And that's electoral suicide for those MPs. And I think you talk about prisons as well, who release, and net zero, and this is the party that's ideologically divided. Do you think there could be some rebellion, some votes, some backlashes on things like cutting benefits, on migration, on North Sea oil? Could there be a torrid time ahead, Randy Burnham?
It's certainly clear that the pressure is building. And I mean, I was speaking to a former minister earlier this week who effectively said, my area has taken more than its fair share of asylum seekers. They want a circuit breaker on their area receiving more. And so they are quite pleased by the language that we've heard from both Andy Burnham and Shabana Mahmood, which talks about shifting more of the emphasis onto more affluent, middle-class, wealthier areas and away from some of the northern towns that have had to bear the brunt of housing and accommodating a lot of these sort of people. But in terms of Andy Burnham's kind of position in the PLP, it is going to be very difficult for him. I think there are people ready to launch rebellion. Even under Keir Starmer, they were basically had more than 80 MPs who said that Shabana Mahmood's immigration reforms went too far, and that's why we've seen her effectively yet to make a final decision on whether to set the sort of deadline, the amount of time that you have to be in the UK to qualify for indefinite leave to remain, increasing that from 5 to 10 years. There seems to be quite a lot of wiggle room within that, and I think in terms of the sort of first few weeks of September, there'll be lots of MPs putting pressure on both Andy Burnham and Shabana Mahmood to water down those proposals to try and win back the support of Green voters that they have gradually been doing over the last few weeks, but at the risk, of course, of pushing away some of those reform-inclined voters who have started to come back or at least give Andy Burnham another chance.
A man with many people to keep happy. Thank you very much indeed, Aubrey. Always a pleasure to have your company. That's Aubrey Allegretti there, Senior Political Correspondent at The Times. Thank you very much indeed. Now, in a statement, a Home Office spokesman has told GB News this: we are closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites. This is an important step in ending the perception that you can arrive illegally and be put up in a hotel. The population of asylum seekers in hotels has fallen by 35% in the last year and by 63% from the peak under the previous government. Overall, asylum costs have already fallen by nearly £1 billion since this government was elected. We'll try telling that to the residents of this area next, because meanwhile today local residents and speakers convened at RAF Barnham to protest plans to move 1,250 asylum seekers into the local airbase. Adult males aged between 18 and 65 who've applied for asylum will be housed there. No women, no children. And GB News' national reporter Jack Carson has been there for us.
Well, protests have been taking place here outside RAF Barnham today. This military site is planned by the Home Office to be housing 1,250 illegal immigrants. Of course, the Home Office will say that they are under pressure to house them, and so using military sites like this is a way to be able to get them out of hotels, with their plans to close all asylum hotels throughout their time as government. But let's get some reaction from some of the people that have been protesting here today. One of those, of course, is Siobhan White, the mother of Rhiannon White, who was killed by an asylum seeker in Walsall. Siobhan, just give us a sense of why you've wanted to be here at this protest today.
Just to try and help these people understand the reality of what's really happening. Keep your children safe, keep yourself safe. Just offer support, really.
Why are sites like this not appropriate?
Well, they're not, because there's 1,250 men coming in here. There's a village down the road with less than 500 people, with a small primary school, and I worry for their safety.
Now, you've started a petition which you're calling Rhiannon's Law, which would be to detain undocumented asylum seekers and review and strengthen background checks. Why have you wanted to start that petition?
Because the murderer that killed my daughter, we still don't know that's his real age. He turned out to be 27, I think. He came in the country 11 weeks, said he was 19, was denied asylum in Germany and Italy, but we don't know why. Now, I've written to the embassies, I've heard nothing back. He refused to do bone density tests, so I think with that, it will hopefully strengthen it that they can't get in with the right documents.
And what do you make of news we've had in recent days that those victims of crime have been pushing the government to publish data on foreign offences? What do you think about the fact that government hasn't yet publish them?
I think it's diabolical. They should let the people of their own country know what's going on. They should let us know, the crimes and the people doing it. They shouldn't be keeping it protected.
And just finally, on this site here, the Home Office say that this would have CCTV security, there'd be security services on site. Does that not provide that sense of protection for the community to ensure that this site would be protected?
No, because it's not protected outside. It's protected inside, but it's not protected outside, so it's pointless.
Siobhan, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a sense of why she's wanted to be at this protest outside RAF Barnham today. These protests have been going on here in this area for weeks. They don't show any sign of stopping. There is a sense from local people here that they haven't been consulted on the plans here. Ultimately, though, the Home Office say that they are under pressure to house asylum seekers, that there are 73,000 currently out of hotel accommodation. Boat crossings have not stopped, and so as those people get to this country, they've got to go somewhere. They, as I was just saying there, Home Office saying that they have security protocols in place, but of course local people here fear for their safety in their community.
Thank you very much indeed, Jack Carlson, and sending love again to Siobhan White. It's just devastating for her to have lost Rhiannon. We had Alex White, Rhiannon's sister, on the show yesterday, and I said to her, what's your message to the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham? And she just said, open your eyes, open your ears and listen to us, look at what's happening to our country. And now the mother of somebody whose daughter was killed, murdered, stabbed 23 times by an asylum seeker, now at an RAF base, using her voice to protest against those people being housed in a local community. God bless to her. Now we've got some breaking news for you now, and it's this. 350 illegal immigrants have crossed the English Channel so far today. 350. 3 more boats are still in the Channel, making their headway towards our shores, and one out of Dunkirk is approaching UK waters, and another from south of Boulogne is also close to reaching the line marking UK waters. Now, if all 3 boats do make it, it's likely at least 550 will have crossed today on a day of pretty thundery conditions in the Channel. And that's the point. They're taking greater risks because the gendarmes think they won't bother crossing on choppy days, and here we go. It could be as many as 550 arriving on our shores today on the same day. Immigration data dropped where the government was trumpeting their successes. 350 illegal immigrants so far have already landed in Britain. 3 more boats are still in the Channel, making their headway. One out of Dunkirk, approaching UK waters, and another from the south of Boulogne, further south there, is also close to reaching the line marking UK waters. No doubt then they'll be taxied ashore. If all 3 boats make it, it's likely we'll cross 550 in a single day, even though the conditions are choppy in the Channel. Here we go. The mega dinghies still keep rolling in. Moving on, police are investigating fears of possible organised crime-linked violence in Middlesbrough after another home was rammed by a car. Officers say the property was empty at the time and no injuries mercifully had been reported. Now, the incident happened just minutes from the scene of 2 fatal incidents already under investigation in the area. And to try and find out what the hell is going on in Middlesbrough, I'm delighted now to be joined by the executive editor at Teesside Live, and that's Felicity Collinson. Felicity, it's a pleasure to have your company. You know, I come from Nottingham, and a few years ago, my home city, they started to call it Shottingham. I found it shameful that my home city was being linked to organised serious crime, and everyone was asking the question, what on earth is going on? And now Middlesbrough, your patch, is at the epicentre of a conversation, a national conversation about kids out of control, organised crime, wrong way chasers down hard shoulders. Felicity, what on earth is going on in Middlesbrough?
Obviously, it's been a really difficult week for everybody on Teesside and for the journalists covering it as well. Teesside is a lovely place, but unfortunately, we do have quite a lot of crime too. And since Saturday, there's been a national focus on our patch after these awful incidents.
But Felicity, one thing that's happened is that there was an amazing coming together of the British population. The fundraiser, we broke the news live on the show yesterday, topped the £1 million mark to support PC Blades and to support PC Clough, of course, who was a war veteran who survived Iraq, survived Afghanistan, but didn't survive a crash on the A66. How does it make you feel as an editor of the area, representing an area, to see your area getting such a bad national press?
Well, I mean, yes, it is bad. But as you've just said about the £1 million raised, you know, obviously everyone on Teesside is absolutely devastated at this senseless loss of life. 2 police officers went out, you know, to work on their shift, and they didn't return home to their families. I can't even begin to imagine what, you know, their loved ones, friends, colleagues are all going through. So, you know, our condolences do go out to them. My condolences do go out to them. You know, it is. Go on, sorry.
But your readers online must be telling you all the time, and I know this from my own dealings with media in Nottingham, where I'm from. When Vowder Callaghan did his business, the great many people in your area are wonderful, law-abiding people who are deeply concerned about crime. They're deeply concerned about what they perceive as kids out of control. They back law and order. What are your readers saying that they want to be done to sort this mess out?
Well, I mean, we've had calls for, you know, extra support from the government for our 999 services. Obviously, it's well known that there's been lots of cuts over the years, and there's been calls from MPs just this morning for more resources and funding for our emergency services to deal with, you know, criminality on our patch.
And Felicity, of course, there are live cases going on, so we need to be careful. But when, as I said, in my patch of Nottingham, when you start to hear about organised crime going on, it's a very, very alarming situation.
Well, it is, but, you know, we've got to avoid speculation at this time because, as you say, there are live police investigations ongoing. We've got 17 people arrested in connection with the A66 incident and 2 in connection with the fire. So it would be, you know, wrong and of me to speculate on that. The police say they haven't ruled out, you know, links to organised crime, but nothing's been confirmed as yet.
OK, let's leave it there. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your time. That's the Executive Editor at Teesside Live, Felicity Collinson. Thank you very much indeed. Now, still to come, 10 years ago, the Tories promised to take back control of our borders, but today's immigration data proves the precise opposite. I'll be explaining more and more details next on the betrayal of Britain's borders. And also next, the government has admitted Britain's benefit system is flawed and leaves people written off from work. This comes as the record 1 million young people are not in employment, education or training, the so-called NEETs. Perhaps those open borders might have something to do with that. That's next here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over
Yeah.
here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight every night.
Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:28 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, the Work and Pension Secretary, Pat McFadden, has finally admitted that Britain's benefit system is flawed, warning that universal credits can easily leave people signed off work indefinitely. Now, more than 4 million people are presently on universal credit, and they've got no requirement to even bother looking for work. Now, this comes as the latest ONS figures published today show the number of young people not in education, employment or training, the NEETs, has fallen below 1 million, but it's still a staggering 981,000 young people seemingly on the scrap heap. What on earth is going on? I'm delighted to be joined in Westminster by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine, let's start with the fact Pat McFadden seems to have finally grasped the nettle. Benefits is a huge problem. Now, he said, was it not before, that all he ever hears is going around the country, people want to tax more, want to get more money to give away, and he understands there's a problem. Trouble is, his backbenchers don't want to cut these benefits, and it could be a huge problem for this Labour government when they get back to work next Tuesday.
Yeah, huge problem, because a year ago, about 100 MPs rebelled over the £5 billion that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves wanted to cut from the welfare budget, a welfare budget that would have still been going up, but just slightly less. They were not having it at all. That was the point at which I think was the beginning of the end for the last Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. But Pat McFadden has not given up on welfare reform, and I think that's one of the reasons that he's one of the few cabinet ministers that when the new PM Andy Burnham came in, he has stayed in his position as Work and Pensions Secretary, because clearly there is a mountain to climb. We've got an ever-expanding welfare budget. We've got nearly 1 million of our own young people not in education, employment or training, and we've got 4.27 million people on universal credit with no requirement to look for work.
Which is mind-blowing.
At all.
It's utterly mind-blowing.
It's very expensive and it's very bad for the people concerned. And Pat McFadden is out and about trumpeting their new jobs guarantee that they're paying for employers to take long-term unemployed young people for 6 months. And he has said that universal credit is too black and white. It's a culture of, he says, being signed off and written off. And he says there's a design flaw in the universal credit system, of course created by the Tories, bundling a whole load of benefits together under this one title, which too readily separates people into fit to work and unfit to work, and when they are unfit for work, leaves them without any support or any condition. There was a horrifying stat a few weeks ago saying that for every £23 that's spent in benefits, only £1 is spent on trying to help people back into work, which surely ought to be the priority, because people working is good for the economy, good for the people, good all round. So he's very aware that there is a problem. And we've got these two reviews, Stephen Timms and Alan Milburn. So they are going to look at this again, but it is horrendous. And, you know, we've got defence spending, threats from Russia. We cannot find all this money. Choices are being made.
But the problem is they need to make some deep cuts to benefits. Everybody that's a sensible economist knows that. I mean, the Labour Party tried themselves, but the problem is this. Whenever they try to apply the scalpel, the left of the party gets on its haunches and say, oh, this is like George Osborne. It's like austerity, it's cruel, it's not the Labour way, it's un-British. And then they get frozen in the headlights and nothing happens. Yesterday, they're banging on about taxing pensioners to pay for all of this. What about 10 billion quid a year on universal credit for foreigners? What about, you know, getting these people back to work? And if you don't like it, pick up some litter, spray some graffiti, or lose your blooming benefits. Get tough.
Well, those are some of the proposals that Reform, of course, say that they would introduce, that they would make people do community service and so on and so forth. And I think there'd be a lot of people thinking that was absolutely the right thing to do. I think it is interesting that about 70% of Labour MPs come from sort of charity or lobbying backgrounds.
They like to give money away.
They're not coming from business. They're very squeamish about it. Now, one of the Labour rebels said to me last year, it's not the principle of cutting benefits. It was the fact that the way they went about it was saying, we need to save 5 billion quid, not we've got a moral mission to help people into work. I think they need to focus on that angle, but clearly it is unaffordable in the long term, especially where we are in a world where Russia are making threats, and we've got CIA directors going to Russia basically saying whatever you're planning against Europe, don't do it.
OK, we've got to move on. Thank you very much indeed, Catherine Forster. Superb as ever. Now, still to come, 10 years ago, the Tories promised to take back control of our borders. Remember that? But today's immigration data proves the precise opposite. Stick with me. You wouldn't believe we imported a country the size of Wales plus a city the size of Birmingham. Does that sound like taking back control or a complete betrayal? That's next. But first, it's time for your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you. The top stories. A chemistry teacher, 65-year-old Sally Ann Bowen, has been found guilty of 7 counts of indecent assault against 2 teenage pupils in the late 1980s. The King says he and the Queen are heartbroken by the devastating floods in Nepal. Over 350 bodies have now been recovered, with more than 1,000 people still missing, including 33 from the UK. Elsewhere, the number of asylum seekers being housed in UK hotels has fallen by half in a year to just over 16,000. But the figure also shows that 38,000 people were detected arriving through illegal routes in the year to June. Small boats accounted for 88% of those. And police are investigating fears of possible organised crime-linked violence in Middlesbrough after another home was rammed by a car. Officers say the property is just minutes from the scenes of 2 fatal incidents already under investigation. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update for the Met Office for GB News. We've certainly seen some lively weather out there today, flooding across parts of the Midlands, and heavy showers continue into the evening with the risk of further thunderstorms in places. There are 2 areas to watch. One, weather front moving north into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That will continue to bring some heavy rain and occasional thunderstorms. Further showers and thunderstorms developing to the south of that, especially this area that will emerge from France. Some uncertainty on the track of this, but if it skirts across the east of England, it could bring some very significant rain and the risk of flooding overnight. It does move out of the way into the North Sea, further showers for many, and a warm night to come, temperatures staying in the mid-teens widely. There will be some brightness first thing on Friday, especially for parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East. Further showers running into parts of southwest England, Wales as well, these merging into longer spells of rain. And you can extend this area of showers up into North Wales, northern England as well. A drier start for Northern Ireland, some sunshine. Likewise for western Scotland, beautiful weather here first thing, but we've got this showery rain clearing eastern Scotland. And then essentially for many of us, it's a day of bright spells, but also frequent showers. The heaviest and most frequent showers will be across western England, Wales, into parts of the northeast of Scotland as well, with this system wrapping back round into Shetland and Orkney as well as Caithness. Where the showers occur, they're going to be lively once again. Fewer thunderstorms, I think. It's going to be fresher as well, with temperatures into the low 20s, and mostly dry in the southeast until the end of the day. That's when these showers move south and eastwards. Western Scotland, Northern Ireland also staying mostly dry for much of the day. And then the weekend, well, a very mixed bag. We've got further spells of rain and thunderstorms around, but there will also be some brightness.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A303 is closed after the A36 at Wiley. The M25 anti-clockwise has a lane closure between junctions 25 and 24 near Potters Bar. In Scotland, the M73 northbound is partially blocked by a broken-down vehicle at junction 2 in Baillieston. Across Wales, the A4232 northbound from A48 interchange to M4J33 Capel Llanil turn is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway services are running to a temporary reduced timetable, and Great Western Railway services are disrupted between Bridgend and Swansea. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Time is 4:39 now. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, asylum seekers are reportedly being given priority for council housing by a Labour-run authority, the Telegraph has reported today. Homeless people in Edinburgh whose asylum applications have been approved are reportedly being placed at the top of the social housing queue, the top of the waiting list, under a policy introduced in April 2025. It's ridiculous, and Brits once again are at the back of the queue. And let's now speak with the Deputy Leader of Reform UK Scotland, Thomas Kerr. Thomas, a pleasure to have your company. We saw this nonsense in Glasgow when they decided there was no links required to the local area and Glasgow was flooded. It became the UK's asylum capital. Now this madness is descending on Edinburgh.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an issue that both Labour and the SNP in Scotland need to take responsibility for. The issue that we're having with the asylum crisis is real. Glasgow, where I'm sitting at the current moment, has the asylum capital of Great Britain. That's huge. And that pressure is now seeping out to other local authorities across Scotland. And the main reason, Martin, is because the SNP back in 2022 under Nicola Sturgeon decided to get rid of a policy called local connection, which meant you used to have a local rule to have to stay in the local community. You no longer have that, which means that loads of people who are granted leave to remain are now flocking to Scotland and being given priority over people who are here in this country. It's just unacceptable, and it's constantly seeing strangers prioritised over local people.
You know, Thomas, you don't have to be Inspector Poirot, do you, to work out that if you say, hey, do you know what, lads, ladies, no connection required to the local area, anybody can rock up and declare themselves homeless. It doesn't take a mastermind to work out that people will flock there from all over the country, all over the world, and suddenly declare themselves homeless. This is a self-imposed disaster.
It is, and it's pure common sense, as you said. As soon as you got rid of this policy, that's what's going to happen. And especially in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, it still exists that you have local connections. So what we're seeing is, small boats are coming over the channel, arriving in the UK. They're then being flooded up to Glasgow and up to Scotland because we're the asylum capital. When they're granted leave to remain, they're then flocking to other local authorities and declaring themselves as homeless, getting given priority over local people in these communities. And that is why there's so much anger in Scotland, so much anger amongst working class communities in particular, because we are seeing strangers prioritised on social housing lists over local people. And as you say, it's just plain common sense that we should be putting our own people first when we have a housing crisis.
Now, Thomas Kerr, in their defence, no doubt they will believe this comes from a good place to do the right thing. But here's the problem. There's already an acute shortage of housing in Edinburgh and indeed in Glasgow. In fact, I believe in 2023, Edinburgh declared a housing emergency. Such was the shortage, and local families are already facing severe shortages, high rents and long waiting lists. And in fact, we saw in Glasgow that the house waiting lists were over 100 years.
Yeah, it is madness, and we do have a housing emergency right across Scotland. Most local authorities across Scotland have now declared a housing emergency, including the country. The Scottish Parliament has declared a housing emergency for the entire country. Yet they are not investing in social housing, they're not investing in development, they're constantly hiking tax up, which means that developers aren't interested in coming to Scotland. And then you're seeing a government that's continuously prioritising strangers over local people. John Swinney stands with a T-shirt on that says refugees are welcome here. He then can't be surprised when the consequences are that people are flocking to our country, that people are flocking to our communities because they know they're going to be prioritised by a government that's more interested in their needs than local people.
Thomas, if we can broaden this out to the United Kingdom as a whole, we have a very laudable gesture from a new Prime Minister who gets back to his office on Tuesday, who's declared he wants to end homelessness. He wants to end it. When he tried that in Manchester, it didn't work because everyone went to Manchester from around the rest of the nation, as we saw in Glasgow. Do you think that if the United Kingdom as a whole vows to end homelessness, we might see people coming from all over the continent, all over the world, presenting to their local town hall saying, hey, I'm homeless, mate, give me a free house?
I suspect that is already happening in the country already because people see us as a meal ticket to try and get freebies anyway. But the point about Andy Burnham is really, really important. He can make as many pledges as he likes, but all that this has shown me is, once again, he is full of PR, but there's not much substance. When he makes these pledges, it sounds good. Absolutely, we all want to see the end of rough sleeping. But the reality is that's not going to happen over the next few years. And instead, what you're going to see is people flocking to our country to declare themselves as homeless. And I'll give you an example, Martin. His pledge that he announced that we would end rough sleeping across the UK actually is only a commitment for England, because in Scotland we're getting none of that money in terms of Barnett consequentials, so we're not going to deal with the homeless population here in Scotland. So once again, it's PR and spin by Andy Burnham rather than actual policy.
OK, well, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your time. The Deputy Leader of Reform UK Scotland, Thomas Kerr. Thank you, sir. Now, a City of Edinburgh Council spokesman has told GB News this: we continue to monitor the different reasons that households require temporary accommodation. It is important to recognise that there is not always an opportunity for the council to prevent instances of homelessness. Now, we monitor these groups separately from areas where there is greater scope for prevention, such as tenancy loss or relationship breakdown. Despite these challenges, we continue to see progress against our emergency plan and remain focused on improving housing provision across the city. Now, meanwhile, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of your top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The weather's a bit more mixed across parts of Europe as well as in the UK. Intense thunderstorms across some central areas of Europe. Wetter weather affecting the west as well into parts of Portugal and Spain. That's thanks to low pressure being close by. Temperatures close to average here, but it's for southern areas of Italy towards the Mediterranean where the heat wave is ongoing. Temperatures in the high 30s, low 40s across parts of the Mediterranean. It will tend to cool off a little bit as we head towards the weekend, but remains dry and sunny. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The 19th century opera composer Richard Wagner has been accused of virulent anti-Semitism and of inspiring Adolf Hitler. What is the truth in those accusations? A new book painstakingly researches what Wagner wrote and said and what he didn't write and say.
I was really guided to the title of my book by an article by Dominic Lawson on the occasion of Wagner's 200th birthday. It argued that we should go on listening to Wagner, but the headline was Hitler's favourite composer was a monster. And various facts were alleged in support of this. That Wagner believed in the German master race, that his views influenced Hitler,
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
What is rosé wine? How does it get that colour?
So the colour is from the red grapes. It's made with either white or red grapes, and it's left to macerate or steep, so you get a little bit of that red grape colour, but not so much that it's a red wine.
It's called the Pale Rosé by Sacha Lichine. Where does this come from?
This is from Provence. So this is the sort of sibling, little sister of a very famous rosé. And so they're making the same thing, but I find it sort of lighter, easier to drink, more fruity, and I think I prefer it. So it's delicious, really.
Oh, that is deeply delicious. Very drinkable, isn't
it? It is.
You've gone all afternoon with that.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Royal Navy was the most powerful navy in the world at that time. That was really the bigger ships, the sort of capital ships they're called. When it came to small ships, we really weren't. And especially minesweepers, there was something like 30 sweepers to protect 20,000 miles of coastline. So Churchill, as First Lord of the Admiralty, realised quickly something needed to be done, and he mobilised what became known as the Royal Naval Patrol Service, rather a dry name. But he requisitioned 200 trawlers, deep-sea trawlers from Grimsby, Hull, all those big sort of fishing ports, and their crews. And they were fish holes were turned into mess decks. Fishing nets were removed, replaced by sweeping gear.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. Time is 4:48 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, 10 years ago, the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union and allegedly take back control, especially of our borders. However, I've been looking through the data released today by the Home Office, and the results are truly shocking, because today gave us the first opportunity to look at a true 10-year window from 2016 to 2026. And the results are genuinely shocking. Here they are. Since Brexit, 4.29 million people have moved to the United Kingdom. Now, to put that into perspective, that's equivalent to a population the size of Wales and Birmingham put together. That's right, an entire country, 3.2 million, of Wales, and an entire second city, 1.18 million people in Birmingham. But here's another point. Who are these immigrants moving to Britain? Well, after Brexit, European Union migration plummeted by 85%, as you can see on your screens, from 500,000 down to 76,000. But meanwhile, non-EU migration skyrocketed by an astonishing 165%, as you can see there on your screens, from 237,000 in 2016, when Brexit happened, to 627,000 last year. Now, if any of you at home are wondering why the United Kingdom feels so different post-Brexit, the answer is there on your screens. This is countries that are culturally much more different to Poland or Italy or France. This is the third world, ostensibly Pakistan, India, Nigeria, and many, many others. And it could get worse before it gets better, because today we learned nearly 200,000 immigrants were granted settlement status from the Boris wave, which gives them full access to the British welfare state and the health care system. Did you vote to take back control? And do you think this is a country in control of its borders? I'm joined in the studio by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine Forster, Brexit's back 10 years on, the first tranche of immigration data, which allows us to compare the window. We've done anything but take back control.
Well, people voted for Brexit for many reasons, didn't they? But take back control of our borders and the ability to choose who comes. We were told that net migration would fall and we would instead cherry pick the brightest and the best. We'd get the people that we needed, rather than, of course, in the EU, anybody could come from within the EU. But when you look at the figures, you look at the fact that under the Boris wave, net migration at one point reached 1 million. Who could have foresaw that? When Boris Johnson was elected in 2019, net migration was 233, and he said he would get it down. The Tories spent years and years talking about getting net migration down to the tens of thousands. And also, we've had a pretty stagnant economy since the financial crisis, very little growth, productivity's been absolutely terrible. That has coincided with a huge influx of people into the country. We were told for so long, weren't we, what a great benefit migration was, but just one of the consequences, apart from the fact that we've got 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, sure, some of that's AI, sure, some of that's mental health, but some of it must be migration. Where is the benefit?
Let's get the figures back on the screen, if we could, about the non-European Union and the European Union migration data. This is a 10-year change. Let's get it back on our screens, if we could, because people say to me all the time when I go around Britain that the country has changed. It's changed in a way you can see, you can feel, and perhaps it's changed forever. And when you look at that, we have something called a cultural difference. Back in 2016, the majority there from the European Union, people complained about Polish builders taking their jobs, but culturally, people were marrying, people were becoming great friends. A lot of the Polish have gone home now because their economy is doing a damn sight better than ours. But then you have the door open to Pakistan, Nigeria, India, and other places across Europe and Asia. And the consequence of that is a country that feels different, changed, perhaps forever.
Yes, and also we have a massive housing crisis, because it is basic maths, isn't it? If you're having millions more people coming into the country, you need millions and millions more homes. The current government has promised 1.5 million, but is not going to reach that. And if people can't get on the housing ladder, they can't have children, it just delays everything. And no wonder people are fed up.
And if you go back in time, all the way back to Tony Blair, and I'll put it to you, every Prime Minister forward who promised to take back control of our borders, they all utterly failed. That is not taking back control. To me, it looks like a complete and utter betrayal. Now, the next hour, a group of veterans and patriotic locals in Rushmore, of course, that's their Aldershot, have been told to take down commemorative poppies from lampposts, despite the fact they raised 650 quid and bought those poppies from the Royal British Legion. They demand answers, and we're going to get them to them next here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update for the Met Office for GB News. We've certainly seen some lively weather out there today, flooding across parts of the Midlands, and heavy showers continue into the evening with the risk of further thunderstorms in places. There are two areas to watch. One, weather front moving north into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That will continue to bring some heavy rain and occasional thunderstorms. Further showers and thunderstorms developing to the south of that, especially this area that will emerge from France. Some uncertainty on the track of this, but if it skirts across the east of England, it could bring some very significant rain and the risk of flooding overnight. It does move out of the way into the North Sea, further showers for many, and a warm night to come, temperatures staying in the mid-teens widely. There will be some brightness first thing on Friday, especially for parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East. Further showers running into parts of southwest England, Wales as well, these merging into longer spells of rain. And you can extend this area of showers up into North Wales, northern England as well. A drier start for Northern Ireland, some sunshine. Likewise for western Scotland, beautiful weather here first thing, but we've got this showery rain clearing eastern Scotland. And then essentially for many of us, it's a day of bright spells, but also frequent showers. The heaviest and most frequent showers will be across western England, Wales, into parts of the northeast of Scotland as well, with this system wrapping back round into Shetland and Orkney as well as Caithness. Where the showers occur, they're going to be lively once again. Fewer thunderstorms, I think. It's going to be fresher as well, with temperatures into the low 20s, and mostly dry in the southeast until the end of the day. That's when these showers move south and eastwards. Western Scotland, Northern Ireland also staying mostly dry for much of the day. And then the weekend, well, a very mixed bag. We've got further spells of rain and thunderstorms around, but there will also be some brightness.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A303 is closed after the A36 at Wiley. The M25 anti-clockwise has a lane closure at junction 6 in Godstone. The M1 southbound is closed between junctions 18 and 17 in Kilsby. In Scotland, the A78 between Dunlop Street and A8 Ratho Street is closed in both directions. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Taffs Well to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway services are running a temporary reduced timetable, and Great Western Railway services are disrupted between Bridgend and Swansea. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's brand new and it's a big one. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could win this brand new 4-berth motorhome. But that's just the beginning, as we'll also give you a whopping £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend, save, or just to use to enjoy adventures in your new motorhome.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you beautiful people. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you loyally until 6. A cracking show as usual awaits. And here's what's on today's menu. Top story this afternoon. Bombshell immigration data published today has revealed a record 73,000 asylum seekers are now living in HMOs across Britain at British taxpayers' expense. Andy Burnham claimed HMO Britain isn't fair, and yet now they're on the up. Could your street be the next asylum street? Now, the government today trumpeted they deported 9,700 foreigners, an annual increase of 7%. But today, GB News can reveal there were just 23 were sent back to the top 5 nationalities that arrive illegally on our shores by dinghy. The ones they're teaching how not to rape British women and children. Does this show we've now got de facto open borders for some of the world's most dangerous countries? And 33 British nationals are believed to be among hundreds missing now after catastrophic flash flooding hits Nepal in astonishing footage that has simply swept across the world. We'll have the latest from all the rescue mission action there. And 10 years ago, the Tories promised to take back control of our borders. Do you remember that? But today's immigration data proves the precise opposite. Today, GB News can exclusively reveal that since Brexit, because this is 10 years on, this is the first tranche of data that's allowed us to make that 10-year comparison from Brexit. Britain has in fact has been deluged by a tidal wave of immigration that's bigger than Wales, and it's bigger than Birmingham put together. And a group of veterans and patriotic locals have been told to take down commemorative poppies from lampposts after anonymous complainants complained to their fundraising platform. The Rushmore Raise the Poppies team had raised more than 600 quid of public donations, but it had been frozen and it's now been returned to them. I'll be joined by a furious patriot, a furious local who just wants answers, and we're going to get them for him, and that's all coming up in your next hour. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. It's that time of the year, it's that day when the immigration data is published and the government picks out the best bits and we pick out the truth. Here's the truth. 73,000 HMOs in a street near you, 73,000 asylum seekers. That's an increase, 93,000 in total. Because here's the point. Our data today proves we are utterly impotent and powerless to deport those coming here most prevalently on dinghies. The top 5 dinghy nations that arrive here on our shores: Eritrea, Sudan, Afghanistan, Somalia, Iran. Guess how many we've been able to deport in the last year? 23. That's right, barely enough for a football match. 23 people out of 21,666. Does that sound to you like a country that's taken back control of its borders? I think it's a complete and utter farce. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is a way to do so, or scan the QR code, beg your pardon, on your screens now. Now it's time for your headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you. The top stories. The King says he and the Queen are heartbroken by the devastating floods in Nepal. 2 British children, a 13-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy, are among the 33 people missing from the UK. In a written message, King Charles said many people in the UK have deep and personal ties to the region and sent his sympathy to families who've lost loved ones. The Prince and Princess of Wales have expressed their shock at the floods, saying, "We're thinking of everyone caught up in this terrible disaster." Police say over 350 bodies have been recovered, with more than 1,000 still missing. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says the devastating picture emerging from Nepal shows scenes never seen before.
The immediate offer that the Foreign Secretary has relayed to the Nepalese government is an offer of first responders, search and rescue support. Britain excels in this, and we're there and we're ready to be deployed. Obviously it's a matter for the Nepalese government, but that is available. Financial support has been put on the table as well. Of course, British nationals missing as well, and we need to support that search and rescue effort. We're also redeploying Foreign and Commonwealth Office staff from the wider region into Kathmandu, so that there is a 24/7 consular support for British nationals in the country.
350 illegal immigrants have crossed the Channel so far today. 3 more boats are still in the Channel making headway. One out of Dunkirk is approaching UK waters. Another from the south of Boulogne is also close to reaching the line marking UK waters. If all 3 boats make it, it is likely at least 550 will have crossed today on a day of pretty thundery conditions in the Channel. The number of asylum seekers being housed in UK hotels has fallen by half in a year. Home Office figures show just over 16,000 people were in temporary hotel accommodation at the end of June. That's down from more than 32,000 a year before. But the figures also show 38,000 people were detected arriving through illegal routes in the year to June. In other news today, a chemistry teacher has been convicted of having sexual relationships with 2 pupils at an all-boys school in the late 1980s. Sally Ann Bowen, who taught at Christ College in Finchley in North London, indecently assaulted the teenage boys when they were aged around 14 to 15, and she was in her mid-20s. Today, a jury at Harrow Crown Court returned majority verdicts finding the 65-year-old guilty of 7 counts of indecent assault after 6 hours and 29 minutes of deliberating. Now, more than 8 million UK airport passenger details have been stolen in a major cyber attack. Manchester Airports Group, which runs Manchester, Stansted and East Midlands airports, was made aware of the breach on Tuesday. The attack is believed to have happened a few days earlier. The stolen data includes email addresses, phone numbers, vehicle registrations and postcodes from customers who'd used parking, lounge and Wi-Fi services. The airport group also said that bank details were not stolen. Elsewhere, police are investigating fears of possible organised crime-linked violence in Middlesbrough after another home was rammed by a car. Officers say the property was empty at the time and no injuries were reported. The incident happened just minutes away from the scenes of 2 fatal incidents already under investigation. It follows the deaths of 7-year-old Valentina Foster and her auntie, Natalie MacDonald, in a house fire being treated as murder. That fire happened close to the location of Saturday's fatal crash on the A66, which killed 2 police officers and 5 young people. 2 of PC Andrew Harper's killers will be blocked from early release and kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole were due to be released next year under the current rules. They were sentenced over the death of PC Harper, who was dragged behind a car while responding to a burglary. But reports say ministers will now change the law so some manslaughter offenders are no longer eligible. The move follows widespread anger from Andrew Harper's family and the policing community. And Russia says it could strike UK military targets if Ukraine uses British missiles to attack Russian territory. Moscow accused Britain of taking a hostile stance and claimed London risks taking the conflict to a new level. It comes after the UK said Kyiv would be allowed access to classified technology to produce Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles capable of striking deep inside Russia. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More at 5:30.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Tatiana. I've got some breaking news for you now, and it's this. They didn't get the memo, the people smugglers, about this government clamping down on the boats, because here it is. 2 more migrant dinghies have now made it into United Kingdom waters, and a boat out of Dunkirk arrived in UK waters within the past 5 minutes. And it's Mark White here who's been giving this news to us. In fact, Marco Blanco, thank you. There's some more from Mark White here. Breaking, 2 more migrant dinghies have now made it into UK waters. Mark White tells me a boat out of Dunkirk arrived in the last 5 minutes, as we said there. There's an update even now. Another boat out of a beach south of Boulogne has also crossed the line into UK jurisdiction, and the Border Security Command vessel Courageous and the Dungeness lifeboat are now beginning to take migrants on board and take them back to Dover. That'll be the taxi service. And a third boat being escorted by the French patrol ship Mink out of Hardelot Beach south of Boulogne is now well out into the channel heading towards the UK. There we go. Mega dinghies keep on coming, even though we get mega spin from the government that they're taking back control. And on that precise story, let's begin this hour with sobering figures from the Home Office today that reveals a record number of asylum seekers are now living in dispersed accommodation, in other words, on a street near you. Now, the figures show that while the number of illegal immigrants in hotels has dropped to 16,000, the number in the likes of houses of multiple occupation, HMOs, has now rocketed to more than 73,000. Is that a problem solved, or is a problem moved? Let's now speak with the Reform UK London Assembly member, Alex Wilson. Alex, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. Let's first get your reaction, if I could, to the fact that mega dinghies just keep on coming. We keep being told that they will be turning back and they'll be stopped, and that's the end of it. And like King Canutes, this is a tide that Andy Burnham, like Keir Starmer before him, simply can't stop.
Good afternoon. Great to be with you, Martin. You're absolutely right, and as you say, it's breaking news. Even while we've just come on the show, that that dinghy has arrived, and they keep coming. They just keep coming, and it doesn't matter what the government tells us that they're trying to claim that they're getting a grip of this. They're not. They're failing. And today is a perfect example of that. They trumpet this figure of they've supposedly managed to halve the number that are being housed in hotels. And yes, we all want the hotels to be closed, but they're not leaving the country. They're being shuffled around. It means that they're now in places like Wethersfield Camp, or they're in HMOs on your street, up and down the country, and those levels now reaching record levels, over 73,000 in that kind of accommodation in the heart of local communities. So if the government wants to claim that this is a problem that's being solved, they are completely deluded, and your viewers know that to be the case. And the news that we get every single day just underlines that every single day.
Alex Wilson, it's the government's job to put a positive spin on a bad news story. It's my job to cut through the grease and get to the truth. When it's true to say that 9,000 have been deported that came here on dinghies, it's to places like Albania, Vietnam, countries we have returns deals with, but there's been a huge shift in the approach of people smugglers. Let's get this graphic on the screen that I've been sifting through the Home Office. This is how I spend my mornings, you beautiful viewers. I go through data at 5:30, 6 in the morning, trying to find the truth for you. And here is the unvarnished truth, and it ain't pretty. These are the top 5 nations coming here illegally: Eritrea, Sudan, Afghanistan, Somalia, and Iran. They're the top of the pops now. Not Albania anymore. We've got a returns deal with them. We've got a new problem. And look how bad this problem is. 23 returns to those 5 nations. Eritrea, 6,000 almost in, 2 went home. Sudan, 4,200 came in, 0 went home. Afghanistan, over 4,000 came in, a solitary Afghan went back to where he came from. Somalia, almost 4,000, 17 Iran, 3,657 in and 3 out. Alex Wilson, if you're a people smuggler, this is a shopping list of the nations to try and get into our borders because we're simply impotent to get them home.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And over the course of the year since this route became a route for migrants coming, we've had over 200,000 small boat crossings, I think, since 2018. And of that, less than 5% of countries. But it's a much wider problem than that. The overall scale of the problem is absolutely massive, and the government's just not going to grip because these pull factors. We welcome these people here, we give them hotel accommodation, HMOs, whatever. We put them up, and they get processed. Now the government's claiming that the backlog has been cut. That's only because they've now either been accepted, or if they're not accepted, the appeals caseload has now rocketed to record levels of, I think, over 100,000 now waiting for appeals. So they're shuffling things around. Oh, look, in London Assembly, I'm very used to Sadiq Khan playing with the figures and cherry picking which particular figure he wants to say has supposedly giving him a good record on crime. But we know that across the board, you look at the start of the period and the end of the period, and on all these issues, in London on crime, but nationally on asylum, this government, this Labour government, and to be fair, the Conservative government before it, completely lost control. We voted for Brexit so we could have control of our borders, have control of our money, have control of our laws. We don't have control of any of that, and it's politicians in the mainstream parties are entirely to blame for that.
Alex, I want to put this as delicately as I can. I live in one of the boroughs in London that's got one of the highest proportions of asylum seekers, HMOs, in the country. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. Because the type of people who live in the area is already of the kind of third world variety. They simply blend in. But I'm telling you this, if you live in a white working class area, if you live in a village like Linton on Ouse, where the population is 400, and suddenly whacking 1,200 geezers from the third world next to your village, you notice. You notice, by God, because it stands out like a sore thumb. And isn't the problem that Andy Burnham has said, oh, everybody must play their part, we all must taste the pain, but when it's that many people in that short a time on that smaller community, it's not fair.
Yeah, 100%. So you're dwarfing these rural villages with a large number of and it's a very clear kind of type of people. It's vast majority are males of fighting age. We know that it's not women and children, and it then has a huge, terrifying impact on the local community. And we see protests up in another country where this is happening, and they've got every right to be angry and concerned, and every right to protest and make their voice heard. Because if Andy Burnham's solution to this is to disperse further across the country, then it's going to cause more and more problems. The real is to stop the pull factors and stop the boats at sea. We unveiled a policy just a couple of weeks or so ago where we would rescue and return, so they go back to France. And people say that's not practical. We've had various naval veterans saying it absolutely is possible. Not only is it possible, it's essential, because we have to get a grip of this. If we can genuinely stop those boats coming, then that's how you smash the business model for the gangs. That's how you smash the gangs. Just talking about it, but at the same time, effectively holding the door open and saying, yeah, come on in, all are welcome, which is what we've got under this government and under the last government. That's not going to make a fuss with the difference. You've got to actually tackle the problem at source and stop the pull factors. That's how we'll deal with it. And it's going to take real political courage to do that.
Alex Wilson, thank you. We have to leave it there. That's Reform UK London Assembly member Alex Wilson. Thank you very much. Let's get my next guest in now, and it's the former Labour Party councillor Stuart Fawcett. Stuart, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Today was meant to be a good news day for the Labour Party to trumpet some of the victories, but 3 mega dinghies have just gate-crashed the party.
Yeah, I think if we look at the weather of today, the sun may be shining, but that's probably not a good thing for the situation with the small boats in the Channel, because naturally, as you've reported, there's been an influx of crossings. And I just was looking there about, some of the, the countries that you've been having a look at on your figures, Martin. And I think we do need a bit of backstory here. Whilst being simultaneously extremely frustrated, like many other people watching this show, and the situation we had having voted for Brexit and now having left the Dublin Agreement, so we're not part of any sharing agreement. Countries with lots of instability and those people looking to flee war or oppression. I noticed you had Iran on there, which, essentially killed nearly 50,000 protesters the other day. Afghanistan, issues with the Taliban there, especially for women, and breakdown, an actual genocide going on in Sudan at the moment, as well as issues in Eritrea. So there's understandable reasons why the figures from these countries are so large.
Stuart, you made a very compelling case there not to let any of these people in. I mean, you just said they come from misogynistic rape cultures, civil wars, no women's rights. They're watching genocide being committed before their very eyes. That's precisely why we should try and stop them coming in the first place, not make excuses for them coming.
Well, I'd be very concerned about turning women away who are fleeing oppression of the Taliban.
Not many women on these things, mate.
Yes, but this is the issue. There you go. You've hit the nail on the head just there. Amongst these people, there are likely many migrants on these dinghies who don't have a good case. And those cases are now being sped up and processed 50% faster. But because there's no actual safe routes for people to apply for asylum from outside of the UK, and we're not really part of any sharing agreement, those genuine ones are mixed in with all the ones that should be being returned and are now being returned because of the one-stop system.
Are you saying, Stuart, is your position on this, we should get more people in from these hellholes by having legal routes? You've already explained that they're misogynistic hellholes and there's civil wars going on, and you're saying, let's make more safe and legal routes?
No,
Seriously?
The only thing we should be doing is allowing genuine asylum seekers who we've vetted, we know who they are, and they've got a genuine claim to be here, and we know that are going to be safe to be in the United Kingdom, which is why at the moment the ECHR Articles 3 and 8 are being renegotiated, because they're being too broadly assigned to people that don't have genuine need to be with their family, or perhaps aren't fleeing oppression or torture in the way that it was designed to do.
Well, they love their families so much
is
they've abandoned them. They love their families so much they've abandoned them, and they're on a dinghy and they're trying to get to Britain. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, I don't. But look, Stuart, we have to leave it there. We'll run out of time. I've got to move on.
Take care, Martin.
Great friend of the show. I love you coming on. Thank you very much indeed. Former Labour Party councillor Stuart Fawcett. Thank you very much. Now, in a statement regarding the immigration figures today, a Home Office spokesman has told GB News this: "We are closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites. Now, this is an important step in ending the perception you can arrive illegally and be put up in a hotel. The population of asylum seekers in hotels has fallen by 35% in the last year and by 63% from the peak of the previous government. Overall, asylum costs have already fallen by nearly £1 billion since this government was elected. And meanwhile, today, local residents and speakers convened at RAF Barnham to protest plans to move 1,250 asylum seekers into their local area in the local airbase. Adult males aged between 18 to 65 who've applied for asylum will be housed there. No women and children will be there. And GB News' national reporter Jack Carson has been there for us today.
Well, protests have been taking place here outside RAF Barnham today. This military site is planned by the Home Office to be housing 1,250 illegal immigrants. Of course, the Home Office will say that they are under pressure to house them, and so using military sites like this is a way to be able to get them out of hotels, with their plans to close all asylum hotels throughout their time as government. But let's get some reaction from some of the people that have been protesting here today. One of those, of course, is Siobhan White, the mother of Rhiannon White, who was killed by an asylum seeker in Walsall. Siobhan, just give us a sense of why you've wanted to be here at this protest today.
Just to try and help these people understand the reality of what's really happening. Keep your children safe, keep yourself safe. Just offer support, really.
Why are sites like this not appropriate?
Well, they're not, because there's 1,250 men coming in here. There's a village down the road with less than 500 people, with a small primary school, and I worry for their safety.
Now, you've started a petition which you're calling Rhiannon's Law, which would be to detain undocumented asylum seekers and review and strengthen background checks. Why have you wanted to start that petition?
Because the murderer that killed my daughter, we still don't know that's his real age. He turned out to be 27, I think. He came in the country 11 weeks, said he was 19. Was denied asylum in Germany and Italy, but we don't know why. Now, I've written to the embassies, I've heard nothing back. He refused to do bone density tests. So I think with that, it will hopefully strengthen it that they can't get in without the right documents.
And what do you make of news we've had in recent days that those victims of crime have been pushing the government to publish data on foreign offences? What do you think about the fact that government hasn't yet published them?
I think it's diabolical. They should let the people of their own country know what's going on. They should let us know, the crimes and the people doing it. They shouldn't be keeping it protected.
And just finally, on this site here, the Home Office say that this would have CCTV security, there'd be security services on site. Does that not provide that sense of protection for the community to ensure that this site would be protected?
No, because it's not protected outside. It's protected inside, but it's not protected outside, so it's pointless.
Siobhan, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a sense of why she's wanted to be at this protest outside RAF Barnham today. These protests have been going on here in this area for weeks. They don't show any sign of stopping. There is a sense from local people here that they haven't been consulted on the plans here. Ultimately, though, the Home Office say that they are under pressure to house asylum seekers, that there are 73,000 currently out of hotel accommodation. Boat crossings have not stopped, and so as those people get to this country, they've got to go somewhere. They, as I was just saying there, Home Office saying that they have security protocols in place, but of course local people here fear for their safety in their community.
Thank you, Jack Carson there. Thank you to the mother of Rhiannon White there, Siobhan. I had her sister on yesterday, Alex White. Very, very moving. And her message to the Prime Minister was, open your eyes and look at what's going on. Coming next, an astonishing story. A group of patriotic veterans and locals have been told to take down commemorative poppies from lampposts. What on earth is going on in Rushmore, right next to Aldershot, the home of the British Army? I'll explain more after this. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time is 5:28 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, next, a story to make any true patriot's head explode. A group of veterans and patriotic locals have been told to take down commemorative poppies. Commemorative poppies from lampposts after anonymous complaints to their fundraising platform. The Rushmore Raise the Poppies team have raised over 600 quid of donations, but they had their account frozen and subsequently the money was returned. What on earth is going on? Well, let's get now to the local resident in Rushmore, one of those locals who is putting up those poppies on lampposts, and that is Jez Stocking. Jez, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure, as always, to have your company. On what possible planet is there a problem with putting up poppies on lampposts in Rushmore next to Aldershot, the home of the British Army? What's going on?
We don't know, really. I think it's some local lunatics that despise the army and the British Legion. I think they, the only people that are going to miss out here are the British Legion. We set up a collection pot by a company called Collection Pot to raise money after we'd done our flags for a year, and we told the council we'd take them down after a year, which is what we did. And the veterans within our group thought it'd be fantastic to decorate some poppies. We got permission. Well, we've had sort of permission from the council. They said as long as we don't obstruct road signs and things, they're quite happy for the poppies to be up there, and as long as we maintain them. We bought over £600 worth of poppies from the British Legion, but some locals have got it in their head that we're embezzling the money, as they've said. They said we're violent criminals and we're stealing the money and we're just drinking Fosters, we're buying cheap Temu poppies, and they've been putting us all across the line. They even got onto our collection pot and wrote a disgusting message on collection pot how we weren't supporting veterans, how we were stealing the money. So I don't know. It just seems like there's some very strange local people who don't want to see Rushmore, or an Aldershot in particular, the home of the British Army, looking great for Remembrance Sunday.
Now, Jez, we can see poppies going up there. There's videos. You're not causing any disturbance. Everything, this health and safety is being adhered to. As you said, you had permission from the local council. There's no problem. In fact, the first wave of those poppies went up, and the donation platform, collection pot at this point, didn't have any problem whatsoever. So some anonymous person has complained, and they've been listened to. And the thing that gets me about this, Jez, is that you can't compare the poppy to the St George's flag. St George's flag, you know, left-wing people go, oh, you know, it's been adopted by English football hooligans. The poppy is the sign of the fallen, of all nationalities, who we remember with sacred memories and beauty. What on earth is the problem with the poppy?
None of us know. It's a beautiful thing, and it's quite subtle. If you drive around Aldershot, you'll see them. We put them on about every third lamppost. It just looks lovely. And the amount of locals that they're massively disappointed that the flags have come down, but they'd served their purpose. We wanted them up for a year, and they're coming out, but they love the poppy, and they were getting behind this campaign. We raised £5,000 to erect the flags, and we wanted to raise a similar amount that would all gone to the British Legion to help ex-veterans. It's so disappointing. We're hopefully going to get another collection pot with another company. I don't know whether the collection pot have got scared, and we don't know. We're not connected with any other groups in the country. These people just seem to connect. They look to criminals and then connect our group with criminals. We're a totally separate group. We just want many veterans in the group who are struggling themselves. And actually, every penny that goes to the British Legion will perhaps help some of the veterans in our group. It's an abysmal situation, and it's no national pride. And we've got them. Every town in Britain's got them, but we seem to have a bag full of these people.
And Jez, as far as the allegation that the money was being misused, I mean, I've seen the receipts. You bought these poppies directly from the Royal British Legion. The money goes directly into their coffers. It directly goes to veterans and their charitable organisations. Clean as a whistle on that front. So that's nonsense. It's not about that, is it? It's about something else. A lot of people watching the show will just think it's about a hatred of Britain. And it's one thing. You can almost understand it in their minds around a flag. But a poppy, mate? No, no, no. A poppy is sacred.
Every excuse going has been used by them, that we put them up too early, that we were embezzling the money, that the British Legion have said they didn't want to see these poppies going up. It's just been scandalous. I mean, I love to see a poppy. My own uncle was killed fighting for this country. My own grandfather died from injuries from the First World War. My own father served in the RAF. I'm from a family of true veterans, and yet it's shocking that there is local people, especially in Aldershot, that don't want to see their town looking fantastic. I think it is a hatred. I think there's many people that have grown up in this country that hate Britain. They hate the flag, but not in a million years did we think they'd hate the poppy. We thought this would be a great solution for the ones that didn't like the flag, to see a nice subtle poppy raised across Rushmore in honour of fallen veterans. And we've given ourselves about 3 months to cover Rushmore, and especially Aldershot in the poppy, taking us all the way to November. And we just thought it would look fantastic for the town. Yet the hatred is, and the sad thing is, Martin, these people seem to think they're untouchable. They seem to think they're the nice people, and some of their very hateful posts. What shocked me more than other things is some local Labour councillors have actually liked their posts, and that's unbelievable that they should like posts against the poppy.
The thing that upsets me, the thing that upsets you, the thing that upsets our viewers, our listeners, and I can't even imagine what veterans feel themselves, is that when you remember at this special time of year, as we move towards armistice and remembrance, we fought 2 world wars so everybody could be free. And yeah, people have got freedom of speech. People can challenge and have views about empire, about the war. We live in a democracy, just about. It's a free country. But what I don't understand is this conditioning, almost a brainwashing, to hate Britain, to hate Britain to the point where you're not even grateful for those who died and paid the ultimate price so we could all be free?
I mean, I don't mind criticism. I don't mind people challenging injustice. But when they actually criticise us doing something that's worldwide seen as remembrance for our troops, for our servicemen, for people of all nationalities, people of all faiths that have died, and every poppy raised is for them, whether they're Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, white Englishmen, people all over the world, that's what the poppy represents. It doesn't represent just solely one person. So these people are going against all religions, all faiths, all mankind with their hatred. One of their hatreds is our group, because they despise us, that we actually get things done. We've raised lots of money over the last few years for different veterans charities, and now they seem to hate the poppy. Yet when other people put the poppy up, they tell us how lovely it is. And yet just because it's our group, they seem to despise it. All we want is to do well for our town.
OK, Jess Stocking, we have to leave it there. Thanks for coming on today and setting out your case there. Local resident in Rushmore, Jez Stocking. Now, we reached out to Collection Pot, and they say, return all of the money to contributors, and they issued a response to the story to GB News stating this. Collection Pot operates as a regulated financial services provider in the United Kingdom under UK law, including regulations enforced by the Financial Conduct Authority, the Payment Services Regulations 2017 and UK anti-money laundering legislation, where a collection involves public fundraising, charitable activity or third-party money handling. UK regulatory standards require specific legal documentation, monitoring and verification of the organiser's activity. If required, statutory compliance documentation cannot be fulfilled or verified within established legal parameters. Collection Pot is obligated by UK financial regulations to restrict the collection. It continues. While we fully recognise and appreciate the community intent behind campaigns such as Raise the Poppies, Collection Pots cannot bypass UK statutory regulatory obligations. Now, if you're travelling home from work or from school, here's your traffic and your travel update. Stay safe and stick with us.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A303 is closed after the A36 at Wiley. The M6 northbound has a lane closure at junction 13 near between junctions 13 and 14 near Stafford South. In Scotland, the M8 westbound has 3 lanes restricted between junctions 8 and 7A from Baillieston to Shorehead. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Taffs Well to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway services are running a temporary reduced timetable, while Great Western Railway services are disrupted between Bridgend and Swansea. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We've certainly seen some lively weather out there today, flooding across parts of the Midlands, and heavy showers continue into the evening with the risk of further thunderstorms in places. There are 2 areas to watch. One, weather front moving north into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That will continue to bring some heavy rain and occasional thunderstorms. Further showers and thunderstorms developing to the south of that, especially this area that will emerge from France. Some uncertainty on the track of this, but if it skirts across the east of England, it could bring some very significant rain and the risk of flooding overnight. It does move out of the way into the North Sea. Further showers for many and a warm night to come, temperatures staying in the mid-teens widely. There will be some brightness first thing on Friday, especially for parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East. Further showers running into parts of southwest England, Wales as well, these merging into longer spells of rain. And you can extend this area of showers up into North Wales, northern England as well. A drier start for Northern Ireland, some sunshine. Likewise for western Scotland, beautiful weather here first thing, but we've got this showery rain clearing eastern Scotland. And then essentially for many of us, it's a day of bright spells, but also frequent showers. The heaviest and most frequent showers will be across western England, Wales, into parts of the northeast of Scotland as well, with this system wrapping back round into Shetland and Orkney as well as Caithness. Where the showers occur, they're going to be lively once again. Fewer thunderstorms, I think. It's going to be fresher as well, with temperatures into the low 20s, and mostly dry in the southeast until the end of the day. That's when these showers move south and eastwards. Western Scotland, Northern Ireland also staying mostly dry for much of the day. And then the weekend, well, a very mixed bag. We've got further spells of rain and thunderstorms around, but there will also be some brightness.
Your views. Just to be clear, my viewers are frustrated. Your voice. Lots of you guys getting in touch. Your perspective. Before these two start fisticuffs. Your issues. What is the official party line? Your concerns. Do you agree with that? Your show. Are you keeping up? Good.
I'm so excited to be back this Tuesday at 6 p.m. Jubes & Co. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Time is 5:41. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a human rights watchdog has urged the government to make it easier for migrants to claim benefits. That's right. The Equality and Human Rights Commission has now given the government its lowest ever ranking, called inconsistent action, for failing to meet recommendations from the United Nations. Let's now speak with the lawyer, great friend of the channel, Marcus Johnson. Marcus, welcome to the show. What on earth is the UN doing, poking its beak into British benefits rules? Keep your nose out, lads.
No, you're probably right there, Martin. It does seem most peculiar. When I was reading this, you look at it and you think somebody must be playing us here, because it just doesn't seem right. We've got the Equality and Human Rights Commission, as you mentioned, which wants to implement recommendations made by the UN Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, which criticise the government, as you've mentioned, on a number of things. Essentially, they want almost equality of arms. They want equal rights with any kind of any migrants that come into the UK, such as social security, healthcare, education, language courses, employment services, the labour market, to hopefully achieve migrant integration. Now, that's their aim. What is probably most peculiar, and which a lot of your viewers may not realise, but the Equality and Human Rights Commission is a British statutory body. It's established under domestic UK law. So as such, if we didn't like that, then the government could get rid of it, could simply change the law and get rid of this human rights organisation, which essentially that's what it is. It's an A-list human rights organisation, and it's designed to monitor Britain's compliance with human rights, which largely comes from abroad. It's quite staggering what's going on, Martin. And just one other thing, if I can quickly mention whilst on that point, your viewers may also be interested to realise who consists this UN committee? Who are the members? Well, as of this month, August 2026, out of 18 members, and if I can briefly just read out the names of the countries from which the members are from: Russia, Azerbaijan, Algeria, China, Romania, Morocco, Nigeria, Paraguay, South Korea, Italy, El Salvador, Thailand, Mexico, India, Argentina, Germany. Have a guess where no member is from?
Britain?
The UK.
Yeah.
Britain.
Isn't it funny how that's like a sort of a master list of gleaming democracies with amazing human rights records? China, Nigeria, banging on to us about how we should give benefits out. And do you know there are some people in the channel right now, Marcus Johnson, they're on mega dinghies right now, coming their way towards Hotel Britannia. They'll be delighted to hear what the United Nations is lobbying the Equality and Human Rights Commission to do. It rolls out a red carpet to them.
It does, but to add insult to injury, it's the British taxpayers who are actually paying for these organisations, such as the Equality and Human Rights Commission, to listen to these other organisations designed to give human rights to migrants, so that anybody who enters the UK, lawfully, unlawfully, whether on a dinghy or not, has rights immediately to everything that a UK citizen has. That's ultimately their aim. It's quite extraordinary, but there's no consideration given to the wider aspects of this. They believe that just by bringing everybody into the country, by giving them everything that a UK citizen would have, was somehow going to have what they call migrant integration. It doesn't work, Martin. It simply does not work.
Yeah, meanwhile, the British taxpayer just keeps footing the bill, getting up with our alarm clocks in the morning and just stuffing all this dosh into the purse of the Equality and Human Rights Commission and their chums at the United Nations. Marcus Johnson.
It can't go on, can it, Martin? It can't go on. I mean,
I think it will. I think it will. I think we're now in a place where we have a parallel universe of kind of people with lanyards and clipboards who want to take down poppies, who want to keep our borders open, who want to shovel money into the troughs of people coming from overseas, even on dinghies, and then people like you and I, who I think sometimes they make us feel like we're the mad ones, Marcus, but we're not. Thanks for coming on the show. Always a pleasure to have your company. Yeah. Lawyer, great friend of the show, Marcus Johnson. Thank you, sir. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast of some of your top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The weather's a bit more mixed across parts of Europe as well as in the UK. Intense thunderstorms across some central areas of Europe. Wetter weather affecting the west as well into parts of Portugal and Spain. That's thanks to low pressure being close by. Temperatures close to average here, but it's for southern areas of Italy towards the Mediterranean where the heat wave is ongoing. Temperatures in the high 30s, low 40s across parts of the Mediterranean. It will tend to cool off a little bit as we head towards the weekend, but remains dry and sunny. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
In the public sector, buildings like schools and hospitals lack adornment, can be very clunky, can be very ugly, and they don't bear comparison with their equivalents, let's say, from the Victorian age. What do you think of that thesis?
I think, unfortunately, it's entirely correct. I mean, we can see it in some of the examples you talked about today. The one that really sticks in my mind, really there's two. Ones you see kind of every day, or certainly used to, post boxes and phone boxes, and in fact, for a third, water fountains. If you see the new water fountains in London, they're these strange plastic water droplets. We didn't used to build things like this. In fact, the water fountains themselves were once ornate. You had creatures in them, you had actual care taken over them.
GB News, the People's Channel. Nana Acquia, weekends from 3 p.m.
Now, you don't want to miss this guest because she was once Britain's longest-serving female prisoner, dubbed the Black Widow. But Linda Calvi has since swapped life behind bars for life as a best-selling crime writer. My goodness. So you've done...
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about, because some people might not know about you, but you were dubbed as the Black Widow. Why is that?
I was dubbed as the Black Widow. The police said because all of the men in my life either ended up dead or in prison.
I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny.
No, it isn't. But that is me. And since I've been home, I mean, I went to prison for a crime I did commit. I got 7 years, and I deserved that sentence.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We have to go back to 1964, when Congress decided to name Washington's National Cultural Center in honor of John F. Kennedy, the president, of course, who had been recently assassinated. As a result, his name was emblazoned on the building. Today, the centre is home to a vast concert hall, as well as an opera house and a theatre. This is the site of cultural events, televised events, gala dinners. The centre is seen as a bastion of liberalism here in Washington, D.C. So what happened when Donald Trump became president for a second time in 2025? Well, in February, his second month in office, he decided to sack many members of the board of the centre behind me and replace it with his allies.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's bang on 10 to 6. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, get ready for this. More lunacy. Birmingham City Council is seeking an injunction to stop members of an anti-migrant group, as they call them, from erecting flags, including Union Jacks and St George's flags, on public infrastructure across the city. Now, this follows hot on the heels of Oxfordshire County Council. They secured a permanent High Court injunction to stop the flying of flags from lampposts. What is it with lampposts and flags that sends people on the political left insane? Let's now speak with the leader of the Conservatives on Oxfordshire County Council, and that is Liam Walker. Liam, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. Now, we know that some councillors, some residents moan. We had a fella on a minute ago whose family was killed in wars, having to take poppies down from lampposts in Aldershot, the home of the British Army. Now we're hearing that people in Birmingham could go to jail for 2 years for putting flags up. Have they lost the plot?
I think they have. I mean, I think the country's lost the plot, and it certainly seems to be, if you're on the left and you're offended, these councils will very quickly jump out of bed and tackle the issues. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Of Oxfordshire, we have seen emails to show that they've spent about £45,000 of taxpayers' money on the High Court costs, and £79,000 actually removing the flag. So you tally that up at £124,000. That could have fixed nearly 2,000 potholes, which is far more of a pressing issue for the residents of Oxfordshire. Anyone that's visited Oxfordshire will tell you, what are you doing about these potholes? In the case of Birmingham, it is interesting that they've decided to focus on this, considering they've got the bin strikes, which have been going for 598 days. You would think this should be the focus of the council, not pulling down our country's flag from lampposts.
Do you know what it is? It's something else. It's a country strangling itself to death in red tape. I mean, they can't empty the bins, and yet they want to introduce 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. Now you could go to jail for putting a flag up. Just run the city efficiently. Just do your job. Get your nose out of our lives. Make things work. And if people want to hang a flag up to show their love for the country, so what? Let them be. It's just about a free country, just about, isn't it, Liam?
You're absolutely right. You know, the first duty of a council, you know, that I'm involved in, is to run local services. That's what people pay their council tax for. Their council tax, which is going up every single year, because councils keep saying they haven't got any money to run services, and then residents see their local council waste money like this. It just goes to show that their priorities are not in the right place. And this is ideological politics creeping in now to local government, and it's costing the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Liam Walker, to your knowledge, was there any complaints about flying the flags of Ukraine? Any complaints about Black Lives Matter flags, trans flags, pride flags, the flags of Palestine? Or is it uniquely seen to be directing their chagrin towards British flags?
It certainly seems to be about the national flag. And look, I know there's some unsavoury characters that have been involved in these groups, but as I've said previously on your show, where there's matters where there are racism issues, that is a matter for the police to investigate and prosecute if there's enough evidence and a crime's been committed. It's not for local councils to decide whether there's been a crime, and I think the councils are just hiding behind that. We've clearly had, in Oxford, I know of a few lefty Labour councillors who are deeply offended about it. They seem to have gone crying to the council, and the council spent a lot of money to pull them down.
OK, Liam Walker, we have to leave it there. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. The leader of the Conservatives on Oxfordshire County Council, thank you very much. Now, don't go anywhere, because up next is Jubes & Co. Tonight is Dawn Neeson. I'm back at 7 p.m. Batten down the hatches. Explosive data from today's immigration drop. You'd never believe it. 1 immigrant every single minute. Every single minute. Granted citizenship or the right to remain in Britain. We've lost the plot. That's at 7 o'clock, and I'll see you then.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update for the Met Office for GB News. We've certainly seen some lively weather out there today, flooding across parts of the Midlands, and heavy showers continue into the evening with the risk of further thunderstorms in places. There are two areas to watch. One, weather front moving north into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That will continue to bring some heavy rain and occasional thunderstorms. Further showers and thunderstorms developing to the south of that, especially this area that will emerge from France. Some uncertainty on the track of this, but if it skirts across the east of England, it could bring some very significant rain and the risk of flooding overnight. It does move out of the way into the North Sea, further showers for many, and a warm night to come, temperatures staying in the mid-teens widely. There will be some brightness first thing on Friday, especially for parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East. Further showers running into parts of southwest England, Wales as well, these merging into longer spells of rain. And you can extend this area of showers up into North Wales, northern England as well. A drier start for Northern Ireland, some sunshine. Likewise for western Scotland, beautiful weather here first thing, but we've got this showery rain clearing eastern Scotland. And then essentially for many of us, it's a day of bright spells, but also frequent showers. The heaviest and most frequent showers will be across western England, Wales, into parts of the northeast of Scotland as well, with this system wrapping back round into Shetland and Orkney as well as Caithness. Where the showers occur, they're going to be lively once again. Fewer thunderstorms, I think. It's going to be fresher as well, with temperatures into the low 20s, and mostly dry in the southeast until the end of the day. That's when these showers move south and eastwards. Western Scotland, Northern Ireland also staying mostly dry for much of the day. And then the weekend, well, a very mixed bag. We've got further spells of rain and thunderstorms around, but there will also be some brightness.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A303 is closed after the A36 at Wiley. The M5 southbound is affected by a report of a collision at junction 18 in Avonmouth. In Scotland, the M90 northbound has 3 lanes restricted at junction 1A in Queensferry, with queues reported. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Taffs Well to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway services are running a temporary reduced timetable, and Great Western Railway services are disrupted between Bridgend and Swansea. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too, with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance